Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you. Darian Landon with us as well. We're Sports Time. We're with you for the next 3 hours and a lot to get to after a busy weekend in the sports world. It's Conference Championship weekend. We now have our the first 12-team college football playoff set. It was announced yesterday morning. All the bowl games have been announced as well. Tiger basketball played yesterday against Arkansas State. Grizzlies had a pair of games over the weekend as well, so a ton to get to over these next 3 hours. We'll pull the grade books out a little bit later for the final time of the season. But Brett, how are you this afternoon?
Brian, I'm doing great, and you're right. We got so much to get to on this Monday, December 9th. After today, only 22 days left in 2024.
Wow. It's hard to believe.
Really is, and shopping days before Christmas, even less.
Yeah, winding down.
You better get in a hurry with that, and you're right about the Grizzlies weekend. We will talk a lot about that. We speculate, we ask about, win of the year, loss of the year. Saturday night, on the parquet, win of the year.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a really, really good one, and just part of what a great Saturday was with all of the sports, with the conference championship games, and then on top of that, you've got the Grizzlies playing against Boston on the road, and coming up with a big time win. So yeah, I mean, that was huge, and then to come out without Ja and Dez last night and get a big win over a Washington Wizards team that has really been struggling, but nonetheless a very convincing win. I know we don't do plus and minuses, Brett, but I'd say an A-plus weekend for the Grizzlies.
I would too. That might be one case where we change that. 17-8, 9 over 500, 680 basketball, 2 back of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and alone in second place, tied in the all-important loss column. But right now, because of a one more win than Houston, I like looking at that 2 seed.
No, you'll take it, absolutely. I mean, especially after what last year was, I think, any time in the year, if you can look up and see 2 in the conference, you'll take it.
I haven't looked at this. I would guess about a month ahead. I'm going to say 17th win last year came somewhere around January 25th or so.
I would say that's probably a really good
That's a month and a half.
That's insane. Let's see if I can find that. I know ESPN, if I can go back to last year, they have it set up to where you can see what the record is.
I bet I won't miss it too much.
Let's see. Win 17. Okay, when was your guess?
I said January 25th.
Brett, you looked it up.
I swear, I promise I didn't.
January 24th.
I promise I didn't. If I'd have looked it up, I'd have nailed the date.
January
I promise I did.
24th last year was win number 17.
So, you're talking about, last week we were talking about the Tigers ahead, and we're going to get to that subject matter too. Mm-hmm. Are they ahead of last year? I still say they are.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to surprise some people where I am on that loss yesterday. But for the Grizzlies, irrefutably ahead of last year for a lot of reasons, and we know most of them. And don't discount yesterday's win. I mean, I don't want to minimize it by saying you send out your B team, but you sent out your B team and you blasted another NBA team doing it.
Brett, last year on this date, the Grizzlies 6-15.
Okay,
6
so
wins
I was guessing
on the
again.
year.
Yeah,
I mean, way ahead of last year.
And on this date last year, we were counting down to that game number 26 to get Ja back, and did, and had the biggest infusion and enthusiasm of the year that was so very short-lived.
Yeah, just because I have it right here pulled up, you bring Ja back and you win 4 straight games. And
had hope.
Feeling good. All right, Ja's back. You feel really good.
Sneak
Maybe
into the playoffs.
Around. Yeah, you probably won't get a protected seed. You'll probably have to play in the play-in. But, hey, you'll be in the mix. You'll be there. And then just like that, Ja goes down with the injury, and the rest is history.
And we knew. That was a lot of season left. It's one thing in baseball to play out the string from Labor Day on.
Yes.
But when you got to play out the string from January 10th on, that's
completely different.
And it wasn't a lot of fun. And going to all those games was just a repeat of misery. There, plucky, scrappy effort, there to be taken give it away, lose in the last 4 minutes every time.
Yeah, it was, and you're right. I'd almost kind of forgotten, but that's how the game was played out. Is you go, okay, this group, they're feisty, they're fighting, they've got an opportunity, and then in the fourth quarter would come rolling around and
just pull the floor out from under them.
And it just became a really, really long season, but very different this year. I think a lot of energy and a lot of momentum, and for good reason.
Brian, I am not in camp freak out at all over what occurred yesterday afternoon for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, and you and I have talked about it, and I'm not trying to sound like we know more than anybody. I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. But I know Brian Hodgson, we can't imagine where he's going to be in 10 years.
Really good coach. Really good coach.
If Dabo Swinney was saying, if you want to buy stock, you better buy it in the Clemson Tigers.
Yeah.
And he was right. Yeah. Since that date, you'd be money ahead on
sure
Clemson
would.
Tiger stock. Buy you some Brian Hodgson stock, the head coach at Arkansas State. I don't mean this to be ugly toward Arkansas State, but they're not keeping him long.
No.
I think they know it. No. And Jeff Purinton will make another good hire, and probably will do it with somebody out of the Nate Oates camp, out of the Alabama building that Jeff Purinton had the relationship with Brian Hodgson. I knew yesterday was going to be a tough game. Mm-hmm. We did Tiger Bankroll off the air yesterday. When I saw 13, I never dreamed that Memphis would lose by 13 after being favored by 13.
I didn't even think about that, yeah.
But I knew it was going to be a tough game. And the national TV announcers talking about the effort was one of the more alarming things to me. And for really the first time this year, the not being able to play defense without fouling was there all day. And then when the Tigers got to the free throw line, it was not as good as it's been all day. A lot of fouls called in both games. Arkansas State had 25 fouls called on them yesterday. I don't think they played great, and they were playing. We know they played the entire second half without their starting point guard, and they had a starting forward that got hurt in the game before they got to Memphis. And then they had the one guy. Have you ever seen anybody happier over fouling out with about 12 minutes to play?
Yes, I've not, no. But
he high-fived everybody in the Arkansas State bench area, kind of preening for the camera. I had never seen anybody, and I think he had goose eggs across the board.
Did he? Oh, good Lord, I don't know.
I don't know what his stat line was, but I don't think it was great. I'd never seen anybody happier over fouling out of a game with a lot of the game left to play.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I saw him going down the bench, and I was like, okay, I know they're winning right now. I know, they're feeling good, but you just fouled out. I don't know why you're so happy, but he certainly was.
Arkansas State's a really good team that the Tigers will play a lot of teams in the AAC not that good. So that's one reason I'm not in camp freak out, because except for Saturday at Clemson, next week at UVA, home against Mississippi State and Ole Miss, I don't think they see two or three more teams better than Arkansas State the rest of this year. So you're going to be able to pad a lot of wins against those not very good teams. And this league is horrible. Wichita State is pretty good and much better than I thought they would be. But there's not a lot out there. There's not a lot of, like last year you had to be conscious of FAU, and I don't think this year, I know they play them, but it's not the same FAU. So I'm not in camp freak out whatsoever. Where are you?
Oh, no, I'm not freaking out at all. I think this is the Arkansas State team. I know, like you mentioned, we've talked a lot about them. I think they're better than a lot of people certainly today and last night have talked about them. I know coming into this game, they struggled, lost in two games, kind of MTE-style games, Rice and Hofstra, only won by two against a Jackson State team that's winless, but, has played the toughest schedule in college basketball.
Ooh, and Jackson State got blasted yesterday.
Oh, they're playing a really, really difficult schedule. It feels like every time you see Jackson State on the court, they're going up against a top 25 school. But, Arkansas State, I think you knew that they coming in would be a tough task, and ultimately, they did what you would think a Nate Oates disciple team would do, and that is try to shoot a lot of threes. And they took a lot of threes. They had a lot of wide open threes.
Corner threes and wing threes were there all day. The Tiger effort was poor yesterday. And in this era of college sports, I'm not going to do that today. Again, I'm not in camp freak out, and you're not going to goad me into it. Nobody's going to. But I do want to hear from people at the Sissy Log Cabin text line, 901-360-8255. Are you? Are you in camp freak out?
Yeah.
Because one thing you can always do. You can always play hard. Except for P.J. Haggerty and a couple others, I didn't see a consistent, persistent, great effort yesterday. Coach Hardaway mostly said that in this era of college sports, Brian. And I'm not calling any names today, but couldn't we? Almost shouldn't we? Because those players are being paid. They're being paid well, and they want to be treated like pros. They have the same jargon and almost off-court habits a lot of times as pros with their agent, with I need my minutes, I need my shots, I need my play. I mean, you hear the same dialogue now, same in college football. You got to have my receptions, got to have my touches, got to have my carries. So why shouldn't we? Why couldn't we?
It's a good question. I don't know. You're right.
Because Penny Hardaway did not check in a single second yesterday and play a defensive or offensive lap up and down that court.
No. It was those guys.
Brett, you're right, and they also weaponized the transfer portal as free agency. By the way,
great word, Darian. Great word. Not only weaponize it, use it as a cudgel and beat the ever living you know what at everybody with it.
Yeah,
and that's their freedom and liberation. I'm for that, but with freedom and liberation, with wanting to be like a pro, it comes the criticism that being a professional brings on.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up because I was looking for this, and I'm not trying to change the subject by any means, but I just want to bring up kind of the magnitude of kind of what you're saying. I saw Friday, and it blew my mind seeing a headline like this. On3, who does good reporting, a really good website. This was the tweet they put out about Jalen Daniels, who announced he was going to return to Kansas. Kansas quarterback Jalen Daniels has agreed to a new deal to stay with the team for the 2025 season. So, yes, I mean, it is becoming professional business type of word.
Sounded like a press release to a contract.
Yes, exactly.
Sounds professional.
A new deal.
And it is. Bill Belichick is closing in on a deal with North Carolina, and he's talking about we're going to treat it like the pros.
Yep.
Lane Kiffin called, from when he said it, it's professional sports. It is. Yep. We can, put on our gear and we can wave our flags of the old alma mater. It's professional sports. And in the media, if we treated it like that, I wonder how it's going to go over. Because I know used to. And you just didn't go there with a college youngster. I don't think they were kids, but with a college youngster, a young man. Because, they had to get up Monday morning and be at a 10 o'clock psychology class.
Right.
And who really wanted to go after, somebody sitting in the stands with the parents of that 19, 20, 21-year-old. Now, with it being such a transactional, cash on the barrelhead aspect to it, and I'm asking in question form. I'm sorry, I don't have the answer. Why not? Why shouldn't we?
It's a really good question, and I don't think I have the answer.
Everything can't be the coach's fault.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Now, he still makes more than anybody in the operation.
Yes.
And Brett, I want to back you up back to that high fiver. You said he had goose eggs. This was Isaiah Nelson. Here's his box score: 10 minutes, 5 fouls, obviously, 2 points, 2 rebounds. That's it. So,
he had a double too.
That's it.
Double dose.
And high-fived everyone on the way out.
I love it.
I've never seen anybody happier. I'm watching on TV and wanted to hug him. I'm going, man, do you know you just, at what point did he foul out, Darian? 10, 12 minutes to play?
Yeah, I think
it was a lot of
right
time
around
left.
12. Yeah, right around 12 and a half.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was almost like my work's here's done. I'm out.
Yeah, because
take care of this, fellas.
When he fouled out, I was
one foul every 2 minutes.
I was a little surprised when he fouled because I was like, I looked and saw that he fouled out. I looked up at the time. I was like, what? How
man played 10 minutes?
Foul out that quick? But no,
it took him a long time to get here from Jonesboro for not a lot of playing time.
That's right.
But yesterday did not surprise me, did not shock me, and I'm not ready to freak out now. The tumble in the AP exacerbated in the Tiger world by this, and congratulations to Tennessee. Tennessee Vols, number one. What a time to be alive for Vol fans across all sports. Reigning champions in Omaha.
That's incredible.
Had the dog pile in Omaha. going to the college football playoff, going to the Horseshoe on the banks of the old Intanci to play the Buckeyes in 2 weeks, and number one in men's basketball for Rick Barnes.
Crazy.
Congratulations to all the
absolutely.
Tennessee fans out there.
Hey, Brian, congratulations to Brett, because that statement he just said on the banks of, I forget, of the Ohio.
Old Intanci.
Brett, you called that shot a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
You said the money shot will be that blimp above the
That
Ohio
deal was
State.
cut. That was part of the back scratching deal, but the SEC couldn't pull through.
But you
with
called
the
it. You
rest of
said Tennessee. You actually called it, and I was like, "Look
Thank
at
you.
that!"
I did. You could feel it coming because remember, come Selection Sunday, they're releasing a multi-billion-dollar TV show. This isn't for kicks and giggles.
No, it is not. But another thing, kind of going back to what you're talking
Unlike our show that is for kicks and giggles.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You're talking about Arkansas State and kind of how they compare to a lot of teams in the American, and just looking at how KenPom ranks all the teams. Only 3 teams, not including Memphis, of course, only 3 teams in the American are currently ahead of Arkansas State right now. So I mean, there's
I think they would win the American,
and I think the conference behind.
And I think if they played tonight, which short turnaround from yesterday, I think they could beat Arkansas.
Wow. Yeah, I mean they're a good team, and so there was definitely some issues with the game, or at least for the Tigers, especially on the defensive side. But no, Arkansas State is not a team to kind of just say, "Oh man, terrible team that you just lost to." I mean, they are a very well coached team, and like you said, Brian Hodgson, a really
quickly
good coach.
before you set the show up. Aside from Auburn, best loss now. Because we asked that of each other the other week before the loss yesterday. So what's the best loss now? Is this better loss than San Francisco?
What do you mean?
Arkansas State. The Tigers.
A better loss?
The best loss, yeah.
Oh.
Is this a better loss?
Well, it's just 2.
I would say it would. I would say I think San Francisco is still a better team than Arkansas State.
But the Tigers beat San Francisco.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry, better team.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
The conversation last week we had was who is the best team they've played.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep.
And I would say San Francisco is a better
team than Arkansas State.
Yeah,
I think so too.
They're close. I mean, Arkansas State's a good team, but I think San Francisco is just maybe a level above them, or a tier above them, if you will.
Hodgson had him ready, man.
He did, and they knocked down threes. They had open looks, and they knocked them down. That's what you got to do. We'll talk more about that, but let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Jonah Dillon, the Commercial Appeal Tiger football beat writer. He'll join us as we'll talk about the Frisco Bowl, Scooter's Coffee Frisco Bowl, transfer portal opening up. A lot of talk with Jonah Dillon as we start the postseason and offseason conversation for this Tiger team. 3:45, we'll take a closer look at the college football playoff bracket. What a fun weekend it was watching all those championship games, and then to see the bracket unveiled yesterday morning. A lot of fun. 4 o'clock, we'll get the grade books out. One last time, we'll take a look at the SEC, the American, the Tigers, players, coaches, a little bit of everything for grades today, so hope everyone has them ready. It was a little tough, some of these teams going through and trying to give them a final grade, but we'll do that at 4 o'clock. 4:30, we'll get to our Sissy's Log Cabin, look back at the weekend in the SEC. Only one game to look back at, and it was the SEC championship game. Georgia gets the win over Texas to secure another SEC championship. 4:45, we get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us. We'll talk about what the Grizzlies did over the weekend, the big win against Boston, and another win last night against the Wizards. John Morant had a viral dunk in that game against Boston, said he don't want to dunk anymore, but then Rob Fisher asked him. Rob Fisher cornered him, said, "You dunked. What was that about?" And he said, "Well, if I went for a layup, I thought I'd get blocked, so I had to go with the dunk." So we'll talk with DeMichael about everything we've seen over the last week with the Grizzlies. 5:30, Monday Night Football tonight, Bengals and Cowboys. We'll carry that right here on Sports 56 with the coverage starting at 7 o'clock right after Rebel Yell. But it's Cincinnati and Dallas right now. We'll talk about that. We'll make our picks. We'll preview it, but also 2 Big Fours today. How about this? First combined coaches, Big Four coaches of all time for these two teams, and then quarterbacks combined for these two teams. So 2 different Big Fours today. So a lot to get to at 5:30 with our Monday Night Football pick and preview. Then 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Get over there for the Ultimate Game Room and Fall Sale. Complete the Ultimate Game Room with a new pool table, shuffleboard, and an arcade game. Help them clear out their overstock of theater seating. It's all priced to move. It's also a perfect fire pit weather, and at Family Leisure, all fire pits are 20 to 30% off. Don't forget about the spas. In-stock spas up to $1,500 off, and they're also ready for delivery. So head out to Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
Landon, Darian, Bryant, Brett with you until 6 o'clock. We're Sports Time, and we want you to be a part of our show at 901-360-8255 at the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line. Anything you want at the text and talk line, fill it up at 901-360-8255. All our guests will appear on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas from everyone at Family Leisure. As always, we're in our Family Leisure Studios, and always this first hour brought to you by Lexus of Memphis, and everybody joins in. And happy holidays to everyone out there in our great listening audience from our great sponsors. Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on the remaining 2024s, the 2025s, and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673. But stop by the only Lexus dealership in Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the safe luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story's got to be the loss yesterday for the Tigers, a 13-point loss to Arkansas State. Defensively, I thought it was not a great showing for the Tigers. You saw a lot of issues defensively, not switching, communicating on screens. They were collapsing on drives, allowing for that kick out to the perimeter, and that's what Brian Hodgson and his team wanted. This is a guy that spent 8 years with Nate Oates, 4 at Buffalo, 4 more at Alabama. He's a guy that has learned from Nate Oates. I saw someone post the shot chart, and it's what you would see from an Alabama team. It's everything inside, and then the other shots are outside the three-point line. They want layups and
no
threes.
12-foot jumpers.
No. And they got him yesterday. I thought Arkansas State had a good game plan, and defensively, the Tigers had issues. And look, they had the opportunities. They took 36 three-pointers, and they capitalized. When they had open looks, they knocked them down. 12 made three-pointers. Also, I thought the offensive rebounding for Arkansas State gave them a big boost. They were getting those offensive rebounds and immediately kicking them back out to the perimeter to knock down a three. And, Memphis in the second half would try to come back. They would cut it with a 3 to an 8-point game, 9-point game, get it back down to single digits. It felt like every single time they did that, Arkansas State would go right back down and immediately respond with a 3 of their own. It was, a game that I think, Memphis might have overlooked that opponent. I don't know. It just didn't feel like the energy there, the intensity was there. I've heard a lot of people talk about deja vu with this game to some of those games last year, and I like what Penny Hardaway said after the game. He said, quote, "I'm a veteran now. There's no such thing to me as deja vu. If you don't come to play, and you're not going to win." I know everybody can kind of use that narrative because of what happened last year. This is a totally different team. We've been playing good ball, and I'm not going to panic after one loss. I agree with him. If your team doesn't show up, there's a good chance they're not going to win the game. Tigers didn't show up yesterday, but I don't have, at least right now, those same feelings that I had last year. I feel like this is a completely different team, and I think they're going to respond differently than how last year's team responded.
I do too. It's why I am not freak out whatsoever. My top story, the bracket is revealed. The first 12-team college football playoff bracket revealed, and it reveals the best season in college football history. And we'll have a wide open next month and a half. We could be witnessing, though, one of the great teams of all time in Oregon. How wide open really is it? If they put a bow around 16-0, we'll be talking about them as one of the greats of all time. But we know the sport that is most criticized in its history as being exclusionary. But once again, it proves it's really the most inclusive. inclusionary sport out there. Boise State, Arizona State, SMU, Indiana in the field, SEC with just 3. Where's all the bias? Where's all the Greg Sankey's going to go in there with an Uzi and demand them have 4 teams? That didn't happen. It didn't happen. You know why it didn't happen? He had no case. They played themselves out. Win more or try this or try losing less. Whether it's Ole Miss against Kentucky or Bama against Vandy and South Carolina, I guess, if they want to complain. But except for a couple of plays, Bryant, the SEC was close to having 6. Yeah. It was close to having 2. I think they better feel good they got 3 in.
I think that's a really good point.
Not top story of the day.
I also love the visual of Greg Sankey, like dressed up as like an old school mobster with like an Uzi in his hand, maybe like a cigar in his mouth, and like walking into the committee room and demanding.
Little Meyer Lansky going
on.
I love
it. I think it fits him.
He couldn't even get his toady Hunter Yurchek to carry water for him.
No, he couldn't. But that's what my not top story is. We finally have the first ever 12-team college football playoff bracket. A really fun weekend, and it started with Arizona State getting the win over Iowa State. It's been one of the best stories in college football all season long. The team that was picked dead last in the Pac-12 goes out there, gets into the conference championship game, and dominated
with
Iowa
John
State.
Rigg and Scadaboo.
That's right. Yeah, man, Scadaboo, what an electric player. So really good story for them to get in. They get the 4. Boise State made it look easy Friday night against UNLV. And then the biggest question became, with SMU losing to Clemson, who would be the last team in? Would it be SMU or would it be Alabama? And I do think that comeback effort that they had in that game in the second half probably helped a lot. I think there would have been a bigger argument if the final score...
They played their way in.
Exactly. They absolutely did. And so really fun kind of seeing that, hearing the conversation about it. And now we'll see. You look and, Oregon, number 1 team, they've had a great season. They've made it look very easy, but their reward for being undefeated and the number 1 team in the country is the winner of Tennessee and Ohio State. I mean, that's a tough pull, but I'm really excited for these games.
My not top story, I think you've seen the last going into next year. I think they'll change it over this summer of conference champions being seeded that high. I think it will be 1 through 12 next year, and after that contract expires for 2026 and beyond, I think you'll see no conference champions at all automatically in. I think it will all be at larges. I think it should be. And I think you also witnessed this weekend the death of any chance of the SEC going to 9 games. So get ready for a whole lot of Citadel and Southeast Louisiana and Mercer and Eastern Kentucky when you buy those season ticket packages. It's very unfair to people that spend that kind of money to go see Presbyterian.
Well, and that's interesting because I think you saw that a lot on social media yesterday. You're the first to bring up that I've seen probably sticking to 8 games, but why would you go out and play a big-time non-conference opponent?
Oh, I kept it to conference. I still think you should do that because Greg Byrne, I think he's having to feed red meat to his bosses and his fans. So what really wore Alabama out this year? Going to Wisconsin and then 4 weeks later, that trip to Wisconsin tired them out so badly at Vanderbilt?
No.
It was the most incongruent nonsense I've ever heard. So playing Mercer the week before going to Norman really took the tread off the Bama tires?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean,
this is asinine.
Yeah, it's insane.
Look in the mirror, Ole Miss. Look in the mirror, Alabama.
Yeah. And I think I saw a lot of people point out that one of the only metric that ESPN was pointing to was top 25 wins and not pointing out the losses to 6-6 teams for Alabama.
In fact, do you remember the boost Bama got over winning against Mercer?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be weird, I think, and
the death of the championship.
I'm curious to see, all the conversation in the offseason.
It's a lot of money, Brett, that'll be going down the tube.
Oh, yeah.
Not the line item it used to be. But with those vampires, they have to have money like a vampire has to have blood, they don't want to lose a cent.
They sure do. Well, that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's get to our first break, and when we come back, we're talking Tiger football with Jonah Dillon.
You know, sometimes I wish I had a gun.
Well, I'm armed, but before I bought one, I still went to Top Gun Academy to learn to protect myself without a gun.
How is that possible?
Top Gun's personal protection training. It's perfect if you want to protect yourself without firearms.
I don't know.
And it's perfect if you feel the need to carry a gun for self-defense, because the last thing you really want to do is shoot.
That is scary.
Not at Top Gun. It's very comfortable, and you learn to load, handle, and shoot a handgun safely. Protect yourself. Go to Top Gun Academy. They're at 2770 Winton Road.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, and great news. Good news. Your coworker Kyle said bundling home and auto insurance with Progressive could save you money. Bad news. Saying this, Kyle was eating your clearly labeled lunch. Dumb news. Pizza near work costs $7 a slice, and it tastes like drywall covered in ketchup. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and enjoy more lunches far away from Kyle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Make this a magical Christmas with help from Genesis Diamonds. Step into a world of luxury and at Genesis, we have what money love, from simple diamond stud earrings to amazing one-of-a-kind designer bracelets. And you can't miss our best ever selection of luxury premium gold watches and full time. December, Genesis is making everything affordable with 5 years, 0-interest financing. Just diamond increase by 60 and match your payment. Or showcases are filled with exquisite diamond rings, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, bands, canvas gifts from exquisite craftsmanship and lasting value. All of our exclusive designers are showcasing their latest creations, and our penetration experts will help you pick out your gifted shirt and tears to your eyes on Christmas morning. So come see us at Genesis for the most romantic and memorable gift of the season. Get out with store hours, directions, and finance details at GenesisDiamonds.com. Genesis Diamonds, luxury premium romances. Popular and Perkins extended. See store for details.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. And we got to talk some Tiger football. Jonah Dillon, Tiger football beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. He joins us every Monday to talk some Tiger football. Jonah, thanks so much for joining us. We know where the Tigers will play their bowl game. They'll go down to Frisco for the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl to play West Virginia. So I think what we kind of talked about last week, where it's a bowl game before Christmas and it's a bowl game against a power conference team, you got both of those in the Frisco Bowl. Now, I think I've heard some people wishing maybe it wasn't a team that just fired their coach and could have a lot of opt-outs. What do you think about the Tigers heading to the Frisco Bowl against West Virginia?
Yeah, I certainly understand from the Memphis perspective, kind of like let's do this early. Let's play a power conference team. Obviously, that was important. They get to do that, and it is what it is when you talk about the opponent. Obviously, West Virginia, it's not like they were close to winning the Big 12 this year. Obviously, they are a power conference team, fired their coach, like you mentioned. I was kind of surprised, honestly, that they opened as favorites. There's been some pretty drastic line movement, and now Memphis is favored, which I think makes a lot more sense. Aside from transfer portal and stuff like that, I just think motivation-wise, anytime Memphis is playing a power conference team, the motivation level is going to be high, whereas West Virginia, you're talking about a team with an interim coach, still hasn't hired a full-time coach, which they could between now and the game, which would, again, be another distraction for the team. And so I just feel like motivation-wise, it's definitely an advantage in Memphis going into this game.
I kind of hope they do hire a coach before that bowl game, because I don't want them to get to that bowl site and fall in love with Ryan Silverfield.
That'd be something.
Yeah.
And that has happened before. Speaking of Ryan Silverfield, this weekend, Jonah, and I think proudly, and everybody should, you look at Dan Lanning, you look at Kenny Dillingham, you look at even last year the great team Mike Norvell had, and what has been through here and what has been built. But I think people are missing out on something. There's another person that came through all that, Ryan Silverfield, and he's done pretty well.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, like those guys, you mentioned Kenny Dillingham and Dan Lanning, obviously having amazing seasons, both going to the playoffs, both played a part in Memphis' success, throughout the past couple of years with Mike Norvell. And like you said, Ryan Silverfield was the only coach that started and finished with Mike Norvell at Memphis. And so obviously was here with those guys. Now, and again, like the timelines of stuff, Dan Lanning, Dillingham is a little bit different. Dan Lanning, like, he was an option when Mike Norvell left. And obviously it's easy to say in retrospect, oh, this person went on to do these things, right? Kenny Dillingham, when he was here, young hotshot offensive coordinator, people expected him to be successful. Nobody expected him to be successful this season at Arizona State, right? They were picked to finish last in the conference. And so it's easy to kind of look back on these things and say, oh, yeah, like, we saw this stuff coming. But it is cool yeah, like you said, I think it was interesting, people kind of looking back and saying, yeah, that was pretty cool how those guys were all here at the same time.
Yeah, really cool. When you look at now kind of the transfer portal opening, because that's kind of, now the game you have to play. You got to get ready for not only a bowl game, but you have to get on with the transfer portal. This feels like a very big offseason in terms of the transfer portal for Penny Hardaway and his staff because of a lot of the weapons and older guys that Memphis will be losing this year.
Yeah, Penny Hardaway. Yeah, I think obviously it is. I think, like we talked about it the past couple of weeks, this team is losing a lot of players. They're losing a lot of seniors, a lot of people who have been at the program a long time. Obviously it starts with Seth Hennigan, but continues on both sides of the ball. And no matter what happens, the team next year is going to be drastically different than the team this year. Now, in a lot of ways, that can be exciting, right? Because they can go reload this entire roster, and Memphis, as we know and as we've seen, has the potential to drastically reload the roster in a positive way. There's a high caliber of player that Memphis can go after and can get in the transfer portal. But like you said, it has to happen, and that means that the next couple of weeks, including even the time before the bowl game, because obviously today was the official opening of the transfer portal, are going to be really important for the future of this program and for us to kind of gauge what the expectations should be as we head into next season. Because as we sit here right now, I don't even know what I can say the expectations are for next season because there's just so many unknowns.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they have a quarterback targeted to come in and where he can play immediately?
I think so. And I've talked about it a little bit, and I wrote about it today, my kind of transfer portal preview story. I really, really expect that Memphis is going to at least go after an experienced quarterback in the transfer portal. Now, people are going to take that as like, oh, they don't believe in A.J. Hill. I don't think that's the case. I think if you look at Memphis' quarterback room, obviously Seth Hennigan is going to be gone after the Frisco Bowl. Suddenly, you're looking at a quarterback room that has one career passing attempt between everybody in that room, right? And that's just not what you want to do, even if you are going to start a true freshman, which Memphis has done before, obviously, with Seth Hennigan. They had experienced guys in that quarterback room, right? Grant Gunnell, who was competing with him for the starting job, was an experienced college quarterback. And so I think one way or the other, they want to bring in somebody who has experience. Now, the question there is, are you going to bring somebody in to be an experienced backup or to be kind of a camp arm or a competition? Or do you want somebody who's going to come here and start for a year while A.J. Hill and those other guys sit behind him? And I think we're going to have a pretty good idea when you see who that person is, if it's hey, this is really going to be a starter next year, or if it's going to be, hey, this is somebody to kind of be in that room and provide support. But I would expect that there is somebody who is a quarterback that comes into the transfer portal.
Jonah, this might be asked again come August of 2025 when we get closer to the start of the Tiger football season. But let's say next year is almost a repeat of that situation with Grant Gunnell and Seth Hennigan. Really a surprise announcement. I remember being on the air when it broke that they were going to, or no, that was at game time when it broke, and then the reaction to it, and then the year that transpired. Now, let's say it repeats. Let's leave out the global pandemic aspect of it. We don't want to repeat that. But the Tigers next year, they go through all that, and the young quarterback wins the job, and they just scuffle along to 7-6. and one more year of the ongoing construction site. What do you think Tiger fans' reaction would be?
To a 7-6 season next year?
Uh-huh.
It's not going to be good. I can assure you of that. Look, if the reaction's not good when they win 10 games, then what's going to happen when they win 7?
No kidding.
So I think that's the answer right there. I mean, look, this program has basically made it clear with Ryan Showfield's contract. Obviously, I know that was signed before Ed Scott got here. And just with the conference, like 9 games is kind of going to be the benchmark. And for a lot of people, that's like the low bar, right? Just to, okay, you won 9 games. Let's talk about the real expectations. Now we can talk about if that's fair or not, but the reality is that's where it is right now. And so I think it's going to be tough for Ryan Silverfield or for anybody to get away with we went with the true freshman because, look, they signed somebody who's one of the highest ranked recruits in the history of this program, right? And obviously people are very excited about him. They're excited about him internally. And there's every reason I think that he can be successful here. It's going to be up to them to determine if he's going to give them the best chance to win next season because there's a lot of quarterbacks who are really talented and who have great college careers who aren't ready to start when they're true freshmen. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be a great player just because you don't want to start. They don't want to start you as a true freshman before they can, help develop you a little bit. So I think the kind of way that season went, like you talked about with Seth Hennigan of, okay, we went with the true freshman quarterback and this is going to get better in the future. I think with the transfer portal, it's harder to use that as a reason or as an excuse or a crutch because the reality is, let's say Memphis does that and they start A.J. Hill and they go 7-6 and they say, well, we were developing him. He can go in the transfer portal and leave the next year, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's not like a situation where you know that you're developing players and they're going to continue to play for you for 4 years.
Jonah, did it help pacify? Did it make it better that watching the games this weekend, the Tigers would have had to gone 12-0 and won the AAC championship game, completed a 13-0, and that still may have not gotten them into the college football playoff?
Yeah, I think 13-0, I'd be pretty confident. I mean, look, Clemson didn't even make the top 12. So I think even if Memphis was 12-1, there would have been a conversation to be had there. I'm not saying that Memphis would have made it through that, but you're talking about a three-loss team, and obviously we saw how they played against South Carolina. I think that Memphis, at the very least, there would have been debate on the last day with 12-1, and with 13-0, I feel confident they would have gotten in. You're just not going to be able to leave a 13-0 team out. Mm-hmm. I think, yes, it made it a little bit more messy because of how Boise State, because we kind of set it out at the beginning of the season as like, oh, well, obviously the Group of 5 team is going to be the 12th seed, right? They're going to be hanging on to the playoff, and we just ranked those teams separately. When in reality, we should have considered it. Boise State ended up finished 3rd out of those conference champions, and so we probably should have recalibrated how we talk about which teams are going to go to the playoff, especially with the new reality of like the ACC and the Big 12 are not at the same level as the Big 10 and SEC, and so there's no reason to expect that those are necessarily going to be the 3 and 4 teams when we look at the playoff. And so I think that's something to remember going to next season. But it's important to know, look, Boise State started the season as the number 1 Group of 5 team for most people. Obviously, there were some people picking Memphis. I think Memphis would at least be 2nd or 1A if you look back at who was picked before the season. And Boise State did everything throughout the season, basically no drama. They beat every team in their conference, and they lost to Oregon on the last-second field goal, number 1 team in the country. And so there was no drama. They were the best team, and they deserve to have been ranked as the best team all season.
Yeah. Well, Jonah, as always, thanks so much for joining us. Next week when we talk to you, we'll be really previewing Memphis versus West Virginia. I'm sure we'll have some names in the transfer portal to keep an eye on. Enjoy the week. We'll do it again next week.
Yep, sounds good.
Thanks, Jonah. Jonah Dillon joining us from the Commercial Appeal to talk Tiger football. And I mean, next week it will be the day before bowl game day.
It's bowl time.
Memphis versus West Virginia. It
I kind of like it.
Yeah, no, it's a quick turnaround, and you hear a lot of people have been talking about it. But for Memphis, it sounds like they wanted to kind of get one of those first bowl games, play that game, and then really be able to hit the portal and get ready, get into that off season early to get this team prepared for next year. And it's going to be a really big off season, especially in the transfer portal. Well, let's go ahead and get to another break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about the college football playoff bracket, the 12 teams that made it, and what some of these matchups look like. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixer. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand bottled, taste tested, sent out to a few friends, and taste tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
You get the best of Memphis for lunch and dinner at Elwood Shack. Choose from house pastrami, corned beef, smoked turkey, roast beef, roast pork, beef brisket, and full shoulders, all made in-house. Elwood's fresh baked bread is delivered daily only in our bakery in Cordova, and all Elwood's cakes and sweet treats come from Frost Bakery. Open daily for lunch and dinner at Elwood Shack on Summer in the Lowe's parking lot. And the newest Elwood's at 4040 Parkland Plus. You are there. Get the best of Memphis or anywhere else at Elwood Shack.
I'm Sean Sewer with XMC Technologies, your local source for the best in office technology for over 30 years. We believe that being a technology partner means meeting our clients' needs as they change over time. That's why I'm happy to share that we are now Visual Edge IT. As cyber attacks continue to be a growing threat, our customers are asking for more cybersecurity and ransomware protection. For more information on how to protect your office, visit us at visualedgeit.com or call us locally 901-737-8910.
Sports 56 traffic. Now, back to Sports Time. Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Service. Here are your hosts, Let's Start Sports with Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we wrap up our first hour. And yesterday morning, it was pretty easy. I think everyone pretty much knew what the bracket would look like. I think with how SMU played in that comeback Saturday night, it felt pretty good, and I saw a lot of people paying attention to the betting market. Our friend Doug Kazarian was tweeting out kind of every 15 or 30 minutes how the odds were moving. It felt pretty good. SMU in, Alabama out Saturday night. Then Sunday, right before the show actually started, we started to get the tweets and reports that it was, in fact, going to be SMU in, Alabama out. But now it feels good after all the talk, all the offseason of first 12-team playoff. It's in front of us, Brett.
It's in front of us, and I think it's glorious. I like the teams in it. I think all of them won their way in and accomplished a lot, including 11-1 Indiana. I mean, a place in a bracket for a first-year coach in Kurt Signetti. And Doug Kazarian was tracking all that all weekend. We talked about it last week. The betting markets told you everything down the stretch of the election and election night. The call of the election, whatever side you're on, it should have been called at 8:30 Central Time. It was over. Everything was showing that. Irrefutably, it was showing that. And it's why I think somebody from Vegas needs to be on those TV shows on election night, tracking that. And Doug Kazarian would be great with his background, or Bruce Marshall, many others. And I know they should be on that committee room over some retired football coach like Jimmy Grobe.
Well, it's a good point, and it's the point you made right after the election with us and with Doug Kazarian. But I mean, it'd be smart. I mean, I think for one, if you're a sports bettor, sports handicapper, if you're in that profession, you have a pretty good handle on all of these teams
with billions at play.
Yes, and yeah, I think
dang sure millions.
Yeah, you're watching all of this very closely. You're looking at a lot of different things. I don't think it would be a bad idea at all.
And this weekend, and Ole Miss didn't do it. It was mostly Greg Byrne talking about the scheduling, but the out-of-conference scheduling didn't cost Alabama. Giving up 40 at Vandy and them not allowing 40 to or Vandy not scoring 40 again the rest of the year did it. Then you get the reprieve. and you go to Norman and you scratch out 3. And the indelible moment from that game was Jalen Milroe trying to go full Bruce Lee and trip the interceptor on the return touchdown.
Crazy.
Ole Miss hadn't offered the scheduling stuff. They haven't. But Ole Miss, you get 4th and 9 from the Kentucky 20, and everybody, don't let anybody get behind you, and they do, and Ole Miss goes on and lose. Then they get the reprieve. They get back in, win the big game against Georgia, and go just not play very well. Didn't play that bad at Florida.
No.
Didn't play near as bad at Florida as Alabama did that same day against Oklahoma. But you lost. Either win more or lose less. Take your pick.
Yeah. Well, and it's a good point because, you're right. Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, it didn't matter how you scheduled your non-conference. They were going to be on your schedule. They're conference games, and those are games that Vanderbilt, for a while, it's been when you see Vanderbilt on your schedule, that's a win. And for Oklahoma, everything we saw of them this year had been they're not ready for the SEC. They just can't compete at this level quite yet. And then Alabama goes out there and lays a dud. I mean, they weren't able to do anything.
And I do think we need to get people that really have the time. These ADs on that committee, even when their teams have open date, I'm going to use Hunter Yurchek as the example since he was the SEC rep. On the times that Arkansas has open date, do you think Hunter called someone in the Big Ten at State College, PA? I could go back and find the exact Arkansas open date and have a better example. But you know what I'm talking about in the broad, and call them and go, my team's got open date. Credential me in the press box. I want to come up and personally watch. Or let me sit in your box or in the No, he doesn't have time. There's no way for him to do that. The only football he watched this year was when his team was playing in front of him, and I think that ended up being he watched one playoff team, that being Texas, and one other, and maybe 2 others. No, just one other that really had an argument to get in the playoff. No, he saw Tennessee. He saw his team beat Tennessee. He saw his team lose to Texas. And saw his team lose to Ole Miss.
That's right. Yeah.
That was the playoff football that he really watched this year.
Yeah.
So really and truly, out of that, who do you think he was most impressed with?
Well,
he saw his team beat Tennessee and hold them to 14.
Yeah.
He saw his team take a 13-10 game into the fourth quarter and lose by 10 to Texas, and he saw his team get routed by 32 to Ole Miss. So who do you think he was most impressed with?
Should have been Ole Miss.
You think?
You think?
But Ole Miss had lost. They had lost 3 other games. So I don't think they had any contention. I didn't think they had any with Miami, but then they changed the metrics on it last week.
Yep. No,
and then that changed from Tuesday to Saturday.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
And Ward Manuel got him a new 5-year deal out of it in Michigan.
Yeah,
Based
congratulations
on
to him.
what?
Well, I mean,
having to fire Juwan Howard, having to go through the whole Connor Stallions controversy, and then the almost inept, horrible job done is CFP chair, and he gets a new 5-year deal. Never forget, in Washington, D.C., and in upper levels of academics, the worse job you do, the better the promotion.
I love that. No, I mean, but it's a good point you bring up because we have a committee that is all athletic directors and they're busy people. It's nothing, it's not a knock against them. They're busy. Their job is a busy job. Why are we not having a committee, an independent committee that can go and watch these teams?
That's their job.
That's their job. Is on Saturday I'm sitting down and I'm watching all of these teams play, whether I'm at a game or whether I'm just sitting at my house.
I'm trying to go to something on Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go to something on Friday. At least one on Saturday, and then on Sunday I want a mountain of stuff sent to me.
Yes. Where my only job is to go through and really figure out who the best 12 teams are. And right now, I don't think the committee
everything we've just said about the football committee, same for come springtime. I don't want them huddled up in that room. I want them out there on the ground.
Yeah. But at least with basketball, they have things that we know they're looking at. Football, we still, like you just said, we don't know what they're looking at. And I think that's got to change.
Great comeback. That's right. We have some, one of which, and it's why today, people upset over the Tigers dropping the Associated Press, but who cares? We've got a metric from college basketball produced by the NCAA that you can go to. I go to it every morning around 6:45 from now through Selection Sunday. And it tells me exactly where they think everybody should be ranked. Who cares about the AP poll?
Yeah. I mean, it's
sorry, Tennessee.
No, I mean, it's fun to look at, and when your team's number one, it's fantastic. But the end of the day, the committee's not looking at it.
People asking me yesterday, "What do you think the Tiger dropping the poll is going to be?" Who cares? The net's everything.
Care. Yeah, no, it's important, and that's the thing. At least we know what the committee's looking at, and that's number one. That has to change with this football committee. Is tell me what you're looking at. I mean, give me some sort of idea at least, outline.
Do they know?
Do they know what they're looking at? I don't know. There's going to be a lot of conversations, I think, this offseason with the committee.
Kelly Whiteside on that committee, please.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough, but hopefully they do a lot of conversing and a lot of looking back at this in the offseason. But I'm just glad we have the games, and I think these are going to be some really fun matchups.
Springtime meetings. That's when Sankey's going in there with that Uzi.
Again, I love the visual. But yes, that is when he steps in and says, we got to change some things.
Full Scarface, springtime.
Yes, I love it, Scarface. Well, let's go ahead and get to another break, wrap up this hour. And when we come back, get those grade books out. Get the pen and paper out. We're going to do some grades. We'll take a look at SEC, Tigers, AAC. Pretty much we can go anywhere, or we might go anywhere. I really don't know where all we're going to go, but we're going to put the grades out there, our final time grading these teams and what their season was before we get to postseason play. We'll do all of that next on Sports Time.
Someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Hi, this is Troy Five Ash, owner of Five Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? We have it covered at Humdingers. It's quick, it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. Many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdingers, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdingers offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Join Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner and me this week as the Bengals take on the Cowboys. Joe Burrow and Cincinnati have a top 5 scoring offense. Now they travel to Dallas to take on a resurgent Cowboy team on a 2-game winning streak. Don't miss it on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
This story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major anywhere. WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis with Dave Woloshin weekday mornings from 10 to 11. To Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 FM. Once again, Brett Rosary and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we start our 4 o'clock hour, and it's grade time. I wish I had a pen with me so I could click the pen because we got to get our grade book out and make these grades. Yeah, Brett, I know you're all pen and paper. I'm not. I'm digital pen and digital paper, I guess.
Also have at your disposal, Brian, at your ready, our final college football playoff bracket that we went with. I can tell you now, I was 6 up, 6 down. Got 6 in, only 1 at the correct seed, and missed on 6. So I'll start. Give me a grade for the season.
Okay. I'm gonna give the season an A. I mean,
no doubt.
For all the, the playoffs gonna devalue the regular season or whatever. Every single weekend was incredible football. It was incredible. What does this loss mean for this team? What does this win mean for this team? I mean, every single week it felt like you had a new storyline. It felt like you had something to debate, something to talk about, and that's really what matters. And so I think it definitely lived up to it.
I cast my Heisman Trophy vote yesterday.
I love it.
To them. I give them my word I won't reveal. Mm-hmm. I think that's wrong on their part. I think it would drive interest, especially when I think there's going to be a landslide, near unanimous winner. But there were, if you take out Travis Hunter, at least 5 most years could have won it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think so.
Including the Army quarterback, the Indiana quarterback, a running back from Arizona State, a running back from Boise State.
Yeah. I didn't want to influence your vote by any means, Brett, but I almost texted you Friday night and said I think I have your third guy for voting with what Bryson Daly did. I mean, he's crazy. The Army quarterback was fantastic all year.
You may not realize how close you really are.
Okay, I love it.
All right, the Memphis Tigers.
The Memphis Tigers, I gave them a C.
I can't do it. I can't give them a C. I've lived here too long when it felt like, I'm sorry, we went 3 or 4 years without getting 10 wins.
Oh, yeah.
I know the bar has been set higher. I know I had it maybe unapproachably high, maybe too high. But a 10-win season for Memphis, I'm still going to give an A.
Yeah,
I just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair, because I think it was a good season. Again, nothing the Tigers can do about the schedule they have, and so when you go out there and you win that many games on your schedule, that's the name of the game, right?
And fans are speaking. They hate this league.
Yes,
they hate those teams. They're going to hate them come January and February in basketball. They don't want to hear about them. They don't want to talk about them. There's no interest in these other teams. They don't want any kinship with Rice. Right. They don't want any kinship with Charlotte in anything. They care about the Tigers, though.
Yes, they do. They do. And so I think, for me, I think the C just comes from those expectations and the fact that the team knew those expectations and then, kind of where those losses came. I understand, Navy on the road's tough, but I think, was a winnable game. And then, UTSA, I think, kind of a down year for them.
And the flip field return touchdown made the margin.
Oh, yeah.
We had somebody really bellicose toward us about it. They were right.
Yeah.
We don't need to forget that could have been turned the other way. Yeah. Darren, your Tiger great.
I'd say C, and reason being a great man named Brett just said, hey, either lose less or win more, right? So that's kind of what I'm judging them off of.
Only 2 more they can win, though.
But hey, but it happened, okay. and you can't help but to see that mirror match in Boise State, and just to figure that the college football playoff would have been here with the hole in the stadium. That should have been us.
Well, I think. Well, before we get to that, Brett. Well, I loved what you said with Jonah Dillon earlier about. I do think it changed a little bit. The fact that Boise State ends the season with one loss. They won their game easily. I think if you had gone undefeated, but with one loss and Boise's one loss being a 3-point game to Oregon, it felt like you had to be perfect to make the college football playoffs this year. And I thought that was a
felt
really
like
good
it
take
because the question was, hey, could we even crack an 11 seed? Look at what Boise is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said Seth Hennigan grade?
Yeah.
I will give Seth Hennigan a B this season.
I'm a B.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say B as well with those records.
And same for Jackson Dart at Ole Miss. I said it last week. We just wanted a little more out of both of them. Great competitors, great youngsters. I mean, so much fun to watch
Really
play
good
ball.
year for both of them.
And for me to get to know Jackson Dart and his mom and dad and his aunt and his family and his support group. Wonderful. Just wanted a little more from you.
I learned a lot about Dart in his post games this year. I learned a lot about his maturity in post game.
The Darts are solid people and everything. I'm told same for the Hennigans. Let's go alphabetical order. SEC, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Bama.
I give Bama a D. You got those expectations. I mean, you are Alabama. I know you just missed it by one. It was just a peg. But again, you have the opportunity to be in there. Don't lose to Oklahoma. Oklahoma's not a good team.
Right.
You're
That's what they tell us.
I don't care if it's home or on the road.
Right.
Give him a D.
I was a solid C, but wow, you came out swinging with that D. And you're correct, by the way.
12-team playoff. You should be in there. I don't care who the coach is.
Shouldn't you?
You're Bama.
I got to see.
I loved it. I mean, neighborhood.
Nobody was beating Oklahoma on that day, though. That was a well played game by them.
I mean, they played well. They played well, but I thought Bama played
I've
bad
seen
that game.
50 Oklahoma teams that would have beat them on that day. Jack Mildren would have beat them that day.
They played well, but I don't think Bama played good at all. Bad
Julius Caesar Watts would have beat them that
got
day.
him that day.
Thomas Lott would have beat them that day. The late Brad Davis would have beat him that day.
Yeah.
Is that his name? Steve Davis.
Steve.
And a nice man. I'm sorry. I
Steve.
didn't mean to do that. Well, it was a good wishbone quarterback. High point for Bama was the first half against Georgia.
I would say so.
Got to be.
Low point Vandy.
Was Low Point Vandy or was Low Point Oklahoma?
Oklahoma. Definitely 3 points. Come on.
Good point.
And what that
Oklahoma.
meant, I mean, because even after the loss to Vandy, they still had a really good chance to make that.
Arrow up, arrow down for the future for Kalen DeBoer at Bama.
Oh, jeez.
It has to be up, right?
It's got to be up. It's
Gotta
Alabama.
be. It's gotta be up.
I mean, it always comes back. You can always say that.
It's
At
just
the end
Bama.
of every sentence, you go, it's Alabama.
Yeah.
And plus, Vandy made you feel better about that loss by the way they played, right?
Yeah.
Not a
Just
lot.
throughout the season.
Not a lot. I mean,
They reverted back to being Vandy.
They did. In the season, I agree.
Good, bad, indifferent. Every sentence that Alabama can end with, it's Alabama football.
Alabama, that's right. I mean,
And it
those
is.
players are going after. They'll still think of it as Alabama.
Razorbacks, Arkansas.
Arkansas. I have Arkansas as a B. Give him a B. Make bowl. I'll give you a B.
Correct.
I have a C.
Okay.
I was with you.
And I had them 6-6 preseason. I had them winning at Oak State. Remember, Oklahoma State didn't win again after that day, and I had them losing at Auburn.
Oh,
wow. They flipped those.
I didn't realize that.
High point beating Tennessee, no doubt about it.
Certainly. 100%.
Low point, I think, is Oklahoma State. They had one since.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't think I even put that together. Not a
Future
win since.
arrow up, arrow down for Sam Pittman.
Is he staying?
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Can we just do like a straight arrow? I
A
mean,
lot of Liberty Bowls for Arkansas.
yeah, it has been a lot, but you know, ugh. Could be
Up
a
or
fun
down
team
for
to in
Pittman?
there. I say
Has to be up.
I don't know.
I'd say up based on where he was,
Down,
right?
Because I don't know how much more he has to give. I mean, how many more years does he have?
And look at the portal. I mean, they are. And Ole Miss is going to get 2 or 3 from them.
Well,
And just everybody's
That's
just
what it
picking
is
the
now.
best players from them. Our good buddy Hugh Freeze in Auburn Tigers, great.
Jeez. Give him a D.
F.
I mean, when's it supposed to click with Auburn? Maybe next year. Now Cam Coleman's in the transfer portal. Maybe he's
Yeah.
trying to get a better deal. Maybe he's going somewhere
Cruton.
else. I don't know.
F. Derek.
I give him a D.
Yeah.
High point A&M, low point Cal.
Yeah.
You
Trending
definitely
up,
high
trending
point.
down.
I I mean, I would hope it'd be trending up. I mean, everything you've been promised has got to go up from here, right?
He better go 6-6 next year.
He better make a bowl game next year.
And remember, all these SEC schedules, it will be revealed Wednesday night, but it's all going to be a reverse. Maybe not the dates, but if you played at a place this year, you get them at home next year, and then sort through non-conference. Florida, I got to be.
Florida, I have. Where's Florida on here? Yeah,
Napier survived.
Yeah, I think we talked about it all preseason how tough that schedule was. Hardest schedule in college football to make a bowl game out of that, and I think a lot of excitement towards the end of the season with how they finish. I'll give you a B.
Yeah, definitely a B. 3-game winning streak to end the season. And those were upsets. Those weren't just wins. Those were big, job-saving wins.
Yeah. And the Swamp's back.
Yeah, no, definitely. With how they finished the season, yeah, I mean, the Swamps rock. And I think,
Thanks for letting me see the high point, Florida.
Yeah,
Ole Miss.
That certainly was their high point. But I think good things on the horizon for this Florida.
Low point first half against the U opening day when it looked like he may be fired after the game.
Yeah, I mean, because there was no fight there. I mean, they looked like they didn't show up at all.
No fight.
So, yeah, I'll give that.
Did they practice in August?
Oh, man, yeah, that was bad.
Georgia Bulldogs, A.
Yeah, Georgia's got to be an A. You win the SEC, easy.
High point, take your pick of the two Texas games?
Yeah, probably. I would give it, no, I don't know.
That SEC championship was amazing.
I would say SEC championship, but going down to Austin, that first big
for
SEC
Kirby
game
to win those
SEC.
two games, Tech and the SEC championship game in overtime, mere mortals both lose both of those.
A clean sweep, Brett.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was able to a clean sweep the other way, very, very impressive.
And the hit on the quarterback.
Yes.
I really thought and jumped up and exclaimed, he's knocked his head off.
Yeah, that was.
I thought his head was in the helmet.
That was a hit.
That was a hit that rang volumes through the newsroom.
And then Carson Beck has to come in. He can't even
one arm,
move
lame arm. He had a
He
lame
can't
arm.
even bend his
He'd
elbow.
been pulling a Jeffrey Leonard in the '87 World Series with the flat LCS though with the flap down.
Oh, geez, that was crazy.
Kentucky, F.
Yeah, I have an F for Kentucky. Really bad year.
Yeah,
thanks for the high point.
High
Kentucky.
point.
I got
yeah.
to see it. Serious question. How does Ole Miss wash off the Kentucky loss? When do they really put that in the rear view? What does it take?
Brett, I don't know.
CFP appearance?
That's CFP win.
Win, not even an appearance.
Officially
Win.
exercise the Kentucky loss.
Wow.
Because it will be there with us until then.
That was bad.
And I said, worst home SEC loss ever. Anybody taking any exception with that today? I don't see how they could. LSU Tigers.
LSU, I give them a C.
Darian?
I say a B. 8-4.
B.
Yeah, my B.
I mean, but
I'm giving them an F. It's LSU.
I mean, it just felt like it was an 8-4, but like what was the high point? What was
Well, high point. Thanks again. Well, I got to see a lot of high points.
Yeah, I was about to say it's becoming a trend, Brett.
Brett said he saw a lot of high points.
Man,
yeah, I mean, it just felt like
I'm a little high myself from all the high points.
I love it. Don't get near John. But yeah, I mean, it just felt like they were 8-4. But
don't ever take a Tootsie Roll from John Hart.
A Tootsie Roll.
No.
3 hours later, you're locked up ordering pizza. You're sitting in a fugue state, waiting for Domino's.
Waiting for 3 extra large pizzas.
You're trying to find the key to the refreshment box in the break room.
Yes,
Low point for LSU was opening day against USC. And that's why next year on opening day, the pressure on Kelly is that day at the other Death Valley. You got to start 1-0.
Yeah, because what is that record now in openers for LSU?
Ooh, back to Orgeron, isn't it?
I mean, it's back a long way.
He lost COVID to Coach Mike
State,
Leach.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost his top 2 recruits too, right? Didn't they flip LSU? They flipped.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Lost his quarterback, and there was one more. They flipped.
Yeah.
The money's rolling in for the Michigan commit.
Yeah, it is.
Mississippi State, it was an F.
Yeah, it was an F.
Easy.
High point might have been how competitive they played Arizona State.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Well, there was a stretch there where
they were covering. They were covering quite well. Yeah.
They were competitive. I mean, you're talking, within 10-point deficits, but just not
after being a 28.5 dog.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah,
certainly if we ask the question of trajectory, I think there with Jeff Lebby, I think it's a very upward trajectory under him.
Mizzou.
Missouri, I got another C.
Okay, see. I
mean,
sell me
just
on that.
nothing
I've got to
crazy.
be.
Yeah.
20 wins in 2 years at Mizzou.
Well, that's really good. That's really good. But I just, I expect
9 of them this year. I know we're grading this
Yeah.
year, but
And I think that's where I go with the C is because, I think the expectation after what last year was at the very least be in the college football playoff mix. And it felt like the last couple of weeks, they were in the top 25. Yeah, Eli's going
replacing
out there.
Cody Schrader wasn't easy,
Oh,
was
no,
it?
no. It was not easy. But, Coach is going out there saying we're still in the mix. It never felt like they were really in the mix.
So in the last 2 years, we've had the out-of-nowhere running back, Scadapo and Cody Schrader. I'm telling you, there's one out there. Coaches, go to Montana State.
Montana State, yes.
And sign Adam Jones. He ended up rushing for about 1,000 yards. He was the star of the
Really good
opening
player.
night game that everybody, week 0 game. He could be the Scadapo Schrader of next year.
Against New Mexico. Watch that game.
I bet you could get him rather inexpensively.
Yeah, that's a really good name to keep an eye on.
OU.
Oklahoma, I gave them a D.
D. Easy D.
OUF for me.
Well, Brett,
and F for all the OU analysts. Almost sensitive. Almost. How dare you ask that of us?
Yeah.
And I would ask them in this tone: Are you SEC ready?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What do you mean? We're Oklahoma. No, you wasn't. So next summer, I'm going to ask them again. Since you showed categorically last year you were not SEC ready, are you now?
It's a good question. I mean, I was
High Point Bama,
High
low
Point was
point.
Bama, and that's what I had them as an F, and then they beat Bama, and I raised them up to a D.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, I gave them a C.
C.
Darren?
C.
Give them a C.
I'm a C as well.
I think, you had the expectations. You had games that, I think were very winnable games.
But let's be honest. The Ole Miss preseason grade was not A, B, C, D, or F. It was pass or fail.
Yeah.
And with that, it failed.
It absolutely did.
With one game, too, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And then compounded with 2 more. You don't lose either one of those. You win. Heck, of those 3 shaky losses, you win 2 of them. You're playing Saturday against Texas in your first SEC championship game ever.
Brett, we were talking going into that Florida game. You win it, even with that Kentucky loss, you're in, and just couldn't get it done.
And that one thing when you have a slip up, whether it's personally, privately, whatever it is, it's always better when there's a boogeyman, when there's somebody to blame it on.
Yeah.
I just can't find anybody to blame this on but Ole Miss.
Yeah.
In the mirror. High Point, Georgia, low point, Kentucky.
Yep, easily.
Pretty darn low was overtime at LSU.
Yeah, but I think
South Carolina. Hey.
South Carolina.
That's my easy A plus. I was on them at the beginning of the year, and I'm so glad they paid off.
Yeah, I'll give them
Easy
an A.
A
Yeah.
because they were very low on everybody.
In my 1 through 16 SEC quarterbacks where I had Lenora Sellers.
I would say with the unknown, I would say pretty low. Probably.
Pretty low.
16.
Oh wow.
At the
Diego
beginning when we were
Pavia
doing
15.
I love it, Brett. You're.
I didn't know who they were.
Brett, you're ahead of the curve on Diego Pavia.
I had him one slot ahead of last.
Well,
High Point for South Carolina, legendary against Clemson. That Lenora Sellers run, biggest play in South Carolina football history.
That was huge, man. That was incredible, and an incredible game. The way they won that.
I saw a low point. Ole Miss, they were terrible.
They
that
were
day.
really bad against Ole Miss, but yeah, I would say right on with high low.
Tennessee, A.
Tennessee, easy A.
Easy A.
Yeah.
High Point, Bama always is anytime they beat them.
Yep.
Third Saturday and light the cigars, low point at Fayetteville.
Arkansas, yep.
Everybody in agreement?
Very
much.
I think easily.
Texas, first year in the SEC, they were SEC ready,
Yeah.
especially against that cream puff
That
schedule.
schedule. Thank you,
The
Brett.
league room
That
service
schedule.
them with.
I'll still give the Horns an A.
I will too.
You're in the conference championship your first year. You're in the playoffs. You get an A.
Yeah, you did what you were supposed to.
High Point, Michigan.
Oh, jeez.
What was it? What was the SEC High Point? Seriously, come up with that
Yeah.
red letter, orange letter, gold star winning SEC moment.
I don't.
Vandy,
back
Vandy
against
over
Georgia?
Bama. Vandy over Bama. That big one.
Vandy?
Over Bama.
No, for Texas.
Oh, I thought you were speaking hold SEC. Okay.
What was Texas's big moment?
Maybe
Hanging on to win at Vandy.
Maybe A&M on the road at A&M.
Okay.
I mean,
A 10.
Yeah, I don't know. Michigan
Scored 17.
They better not have lost that game to Vandy. Brett, you may be right. you may be right because there were inklings that they could have lost that game.
Vanderbilt had opportunities to win that game, and they just didn't
I
capitalize.
thought, and that's when the Pavia magic kind of played out.
Kind of wore off.
A low point overtime to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
A&M, Mike Elko, year one.
A&M, I'll give him an A.
Got to give him an A. What were we talking about at the beginning of the year? Old scary cow feel, and nobody, and he comes out and he does what he's supposed to do.
First
A
year,
for the agriculture and mechanical
I
skills.
love it. I love it.
High Point, Mizzou, they blasted them.
Yeah, they blasted him. Yeah, I'll give him that. But I mean, all the stench that Jimbo Fisher left on that program, and
Sure did.
he goes in, and I mean, really good year one.
Elko sent him through the car wash, got it going in a good direction. Low point opening night, that build up, and
Notre Dame
pushed them around.
Sure did.
Auburn pretty close though, right, Brett?
Yeah, sure was. Vandy.
Vandy gets an A.
Easy A.
Vanderbilt in a bowl game?
Yeah,
I mean, come on now. Easy A.
Seriously.
Maybe the easiest day of the SEC was Vandy.
Absolutely. Them in South Carolina. I mean, they are headed. They played above their head.
No, certainly.
Bama, the high point in their history.
No doubt. The highest of high points for Vanderbilt.
And low point, Georgia State.
Yeah.
They turned around. That's what we said. They reverted back to being Vandy.
That Georgia State win. And Georgia State, I mean, I didn't keep too close tabs on them, but they didn't have many more wins after that win over Vanderbilt.
No, they've lost 3 in a row.
Yeah.
From around college football, Big Noon.
Brett, I did not watch much Big Noon. I will give it a B because I saw bits and pieces of it, but I didn't watch much of it.
I'll give it a B as well. Darren, you want to weigh in on Big Noon?
Yeah, because they've gotten better. Last year would have been a DC-ish, so I will give them a B because they've stepped their game up.
Yeah.
Like, if nothing else, they're appealing now.
I really
if
didn't
nothing
watch
else.
much of them this year. Shame on me.
No, they're really appealing.
Yeah.
Big Noon B for me. Game day.
I give Game Day.
Always an A, right?
I give it an A. I like
Always
Game
an
Day
A.
this year. Game Day was good this year.
Can I give Nick Saban an A, the Kirk Herbstreit an A, and the rest of them an F?
Sure. Yeah, a little breakdown, but I like it.
Give them an A for saying Memphis State, right? You know.
Well, it depends on who you ask. I don't know. Some people were really upset about that.
They were, right?
No, they sure were. No, I mean, Nick Saban was fantastic on Game Day this year. The addition of him and what he brought was huge.
Oh, and yesterday on the extended reveal show.
So good.
Just sit back and
So
listen
good.
to him.
I mean,
he broke that down very well.
He could fix the whole sport. And I don't think I don't think college football needs a total overhaul, but we probably need some spark plugs.
Sure. I mean, a little help in anything. You know, it doesn't hurt, right? You know, I think everything could use a little bit of improvement, but no.
But you can forget a commissioner that Greg Sankey's never agreeing to some other body dictating the terms of the SEC's business. You can forget it.
No, not at all. But no, Nick Saban, you know, Brad, I think you're the first person on it to, hey, get him in a room and, you know, sign him up to be Mr. College Football and, you know, try to kind of lead the charge and try to fix some of these issues in college football. I think he'd be great, but he was fantastic on ESPN all year long. I mean, like you said, anytime he was on the screen, you just kind of stopped and just soaked in what he was saying.
I'm not kidding. On days that I can, when I can sit back and watch like a night game for Ole Miss, and you know I don't have anything to do but watch early morning TV. I have the remote control literally on the back button that either Herbstreit or Nick Saban's talking, or the back button to Urban Meyer and Mark Ingram's talking.
Those are four really good dudes. I mean, they know
anybody else talking or commercial, I
when
just
you
constantly hit the back button.
You go back and you hope that one of the other guys is talking.
And then just my preference next year on game day. Can y'all tell me who the guy was Saturday from the SEC game?
The guest picker?
Yeah.
Oh, Timothy Chalamet. Yeah, he's a big-time actor right now, Brett. Very, very popular.
He is. Should I feel bad that I don't know him?
No.
What has he acted in?
He was in Dune.
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm with Brett on this one.
He was in Dune. See, I wasn't super familiar. I knew he was, of course, but I haven't seen all his movies. He's in Wonka. He's coming up. The reason, let's be honest, the reason he was on game day is because he is portraying Bob Dylan in the new Bob Dylan movie that's coming out on Christmas Day. Yes, and so they did it earlier
At
this
gunpoint,
season.
I wouldn't go to the Robert Zimmerman movie.
So they did.
How stoned did you have to be to sit back and enjoy?
A lot of Tootsie Rolls.
Great, yes, a lot of John
Man,
Harden Tootsie Rolls.
you need the whole box.
So they did the
Never
same thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something very controversial.
Okay.
Jacob Dylan and the Wallflowers better than Bob Dylan.
Wow, that is controversial. I love it. But no, they did it. It's the second time that I've noticed they did it this year. Earlier this season, they had a female actor from It's Always Sunny. I forget her name. And I learned after that she was going to be the main character of an ABC show that was debuting like the next week or week after. I was like, oh, they put her on there. Part of the reason they put her on there, promote the show. Obviously, ESPN, ABC, they're all the same.
Mickey Mouse connection.
And now Timothée Chalamet's got a big movie coming out.
Time's
Put him
money.
on game day and try to up that. He was great though with his picks. I mean, he was naming the all conference team.
We know who
on
the guest
teams
picker
and-
should be next year. It should be Darian Newsom. Well, how he's picked this
every
year.
week. I mean,
9-2 this week.
And Fuego.
Just a little.
Look.
How you do? 9-2.
Look, Brad, I never want to call for anybody's job. Certainly not Stanford Steve or anything like that. But put Darren in that Stanford Steve role. Where
Steve
you're
had to
just
come
making
back
peak.
here, and he needed it.
Oh,
it was bad last year.
Put Darren in that, just making picks on the side. Go to him. What's your pick? And
Like Brett said, if they paid any attention, they made some money. Unfortunately, I wasn't dropping any coin down. I should have.
That's too
I
bad.
really should have. But quick high horror to you both.
Okay.
So to the Saban comment, I think Belichick did the same thing for the NFL as well. I just wanted to get that off. And with the record that Alabama has, in same resume, if Saban is the coach, does that team get in the CFP?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're 11-1.
Brett, I didn't want to do that because I was speaking in your turn. In factuals, it is what it is. But Saban being the coach of that team instead of DeBoer, do they?
They're
Same
11-1.
record and
But I see where Brett's going.
Yeah,
Brett's
I mean,
that Oklahoma
they lose
doesn't
to
have
Tennessee.
it.
yeah, they don't lose those games.
Oklahoma doesn't happen at all, right?
I don't know that he has 16 penalties at Tennessee. Yeah, they're under 12. They're 13-0 because he beats Kirby.
Well, that is true, but I thought some good grades, Brett. We really did kind of go a little bit of everywhere. Let us know your grades for any of the teams we talked about. Would love to hear what y'all say on these grades as well. But let's go ahead, get to a break. When we come back, it'll be time for our Sissy's Log Cabin. Look back at the weekend in the SEC. Real easy this week. Only one game. It was the SEC Conference Championship game, Georgia and Texas. We'll break that down next.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
They said the Gorilla Supreme is so bad in the new $7 Lux Cream Spots from Taco Bell. It's all looking fresh to death. The killer 90s Gorilla Supreme alongside the 55-layer burrito, double stacked taco, chips with nacho cheese sauce, and medium rare. Just 7 bucks. It's a lot of
Let me guess, you're going to recommend that everyone get their holiday meal from Central Barbecue.
No, although it's a great idea, get everybody some fantastic Central Barbecue and not have to do any of the work, but that is not what this spot is about.
It's not?
No, this is about another way Central Barbecue can save you time and trouble.
Ah, Central Barbecue gift cards.
That's right. You don't have to fight the holiday gift shoppers when you can just go online and order up a handful of Central Barbecue gift cards.
No one has ever turned up their nose at getting the best barbecue in Memphis.
In the world.
In the world for free.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown. And in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time for a look back at the weekend in the SEC. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies with 9,000 square foot in Laurelwood. Let's go inside the SEC with Bryant and Brett.
Chad Kelly in the gun formation. 3rd and inches for Ole Miss.
Carlton will kick it. It is on the way, and it is up. Buck Bellew looking at it, going to pitch it to Herschel Walker, try to get him outside. He's going to get 5.
The snap is high. Kelly grabs it, wants to throw, fires it up in the air. Treadwell can't get it.
It is good! Oh, my!
Get it. Deflection is caught. Deflection is caught. And down the sidelines is Adebayo. He's to the end zone. He's in there. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
He's got 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. He needs a block. There goes Herschel. There goes Herschel.
And you can wrap this one in maroon and white, my friends.
Arkansas is headed to Atlanta.
The national champion is clad in big orange.
Well, it was one SEC game Saturday, and it was for the SEC championship at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in downtown Atlanta, and it felt big, and it was. In Georgia, they prevailed as the underdog, just like they were in the regular season when they played UT in Austin. They win this one 22-19, took extra football, free football, and Gunnar Stockton became a Georgia football legend. 71 yards passing, no touchdowns, and an interception. He had 8 yards rushing and took one of the bigger hits and bounced up. Now, even if the ball had been dislodged because of the targeting, Georgia would have retained possession, but how in the world did he not fumble?
Man, I mean, it was crazy. And, I mean, like you said, the moment that hit connected, I think everyone jumped up and was like, whoa.
He's dead.
Yeah, and it felt like it for a second, but he popped right back up, had to go to the sideline because his helmet popped off. You got Carson Beck coming in with his head or with his arm just dangling to the side, takes a snap and hands it off, and then here comes Gunnar Stockton again. I mean, to be able, I know, 71 yards, 1 interception, 12 for 16, though, to come in and, they were talking about it a lot during the game where, the only time he had seen the field was in a couple blowouts. To be able to go in that type of moment, SEC championship game against Texas and be up for the test was extremely impressive.
On the other side, Quinn Ewers, 27 of 46. He goes for 358, 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions. I think he's good, but I think he's hurt. Mm-hmm. I know he's hurt. Mm-hmm. They know he's hurt. Everybody knows he's hurt. And I don't think he's anywhere near the player of 2 years ago in the home loss to Bama that if he doesn't get hurt that day, Texas wins the game. He was dissecting Bama that day. He was real good against Bama last year in the win at Tuscaloosa, but he hadn't been that great this year. I don't think Texas is a go far if they can win at all team because of his status. It feels like to me that they don't think they can put it all on Arch Manning right now. Probably wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, it does feel like that because there have been times where I think you say, okay, maybe give Arch a look, and they've have not done it at all.
But I can tell you the record is full of people betting against the Mannings and losing.
No, yeah.
Arch may be needed in this playoff football, and so often they come through because they eat pressure for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes, they do. And another thing for Texas, and it hadn't showed up a ton this year, but it showed up in this game against Georgia. Those injuries preseason in the running back room.
Great
Georgia
point.
made them very well.
August finally caught up to them.
They could not run the ball at all. I mean, you look at it as a team, 31 rushing yards on 28 attempts. They had no run game, and that forced Quinn Ewers to have to try to drop back and sling the ball around.
Earl Campbell gets 31 going from his car to the facility.
Yes.
He didn't even mean to.
He moves. He flinches a muscle and gets 31 yards.
3 Texas turnovers, and that really did them in. It was a hard-fought game.
Oh, man.
Right, especially after Coach Saban's retirement. Everybody talking about the SEC goes through Kirby. There was a little while this year during the year, I never really brought it up, but I thought, I don't know if that's the case anymore. I know it now. After those overtime against Georgia Tech, big rival, and Saturday in Atlanta, it goes through Kirby now.
Yeah, I mean, there were times this year where you didn't really know if Georgia would be in the conference championship game, and then how they played these last 2 games, and especially in that SEC championship game, the way he was able to get his team ready, the way he was able to get his team to respond in that second half with a backup quarterback. This is his conference now, and everything goes through him, and made it very apparent on Saturday.
5 of 15 on 3rd down for Georgia, 2 of 2 on 4th down. Total yards 277, passing 136, rushing 141. Oh, by the way, the rushing to passing statistic in the 9 championship games, the team that rushed for the most yards won 7 of the 9, so went 7-2. The team that passed for the most went 4-5. So you tell me which one of the 2 you would prefer.
Rushing.
11 Texas penalties too. Do you think Sark has the big game clutch gene?
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either.
But, I don't know. And I think we've seen in the past, he lets, at times, his emotions get the best of him. Very fiery coach. And I just haven't seen that big game gene yet.
How much do you think Ole Miss should take that they beat the SEC champion by 18? That was in Oxford. It was at home.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can take a little from it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
It's more than one game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a season as a whole, and you sit there and Georgia's SEC champion and go into the playoffs, and you're going to the Gator Bowl. So I mean, I think
I mentioned earlier it was close to the SEC, only getting 2.
Yeah.
If Georgia loses the overtime game to Georgia Tech, you don't have that effort Saturday.
No.
And that takes the SEC down to 2. Here's how they could have, almost should have, maybe gotten 6 in. You ready?
Okay, lay it out for me.
Ole Miss take you pick on various plays in the 3. Just the Kentucky play, the Varian Brown getting behind the defender. For
that's 4.
South Carolina, the questionable call against LSU.
Yep.
And Lenore Sellers' injury. But for sure, the call.
Oh, the call is one that you can point to very quickly.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right, so that's 5.
5. Yeah.
And for Alabama, just get a stop against Vandy. One stop. One stop against Diego Pavia.
And they have no answers.
Have your offense make the trip to Norman.
Yeah. Just be prepared for Oklahoma. Be
and,
ready to play.
And isn't it something that Bama's the more extreme when you're trying to talk 6 in, but it wasn't far off.
No, it wasn't. I mean, that's a really good point. If you can kind of point back to times where it's going to very.
But instead, it was 3, and you have to live with it. We all knew the rules on opening day. We all agreed to them. We agreed for this year that the conference champions would have their slots, and the 4 best of those conferences would be seeded 1, 2, and 3, and 4. There's no need getting mad over it now.
No. We knew how it was going to be.
And you play by it, and you live with it.
Yep.
And to hear seriously, some Alabama fans saying today, well, we should get out of the league and just do like Notre Dame, just be an independent and do our own thing.
I missed that. Wow.
You're that mad over not getting your way one time?
Oh, well,
one time.
It's Alabama. I mean, all that success.
It's Alabama football.
That's right. Go straight back to it. It's
That's
Alabama now. One more thing I wanted to bring up in this game with Georgia and Texas. You talked about those turnovers. What a great job Georgia's defense did in that first half. Texas driving on that their first possession. They have it on the other side of the field, getting close to being in field goal range. Throw the interception, Georgia gets the ball, and then a couple more times in that first half where Texas, had some drives going, and then Georgia only, holding them to only field goals. For Texas to only be up 6-0 at halftime, I thought it was
a win.
Huge for Georgia.
That was big wins for Georgia. Lawson Lucky with the one toe tap catch, one catch for 14 yards, and he's into Georgia football lore.
Oh yeah. I mean there were a couple. Yeah, you're right. There were a couple of guys that went into Georgia football lore in that game.
That's the kind of game you can get famous from.
Yeah.
And be remembered for a long time. That's a look back at the weekend. One game in the SEC. We do it every week. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the red-hot hometown team, Memphis Grizzlies. Also big supporters of Tiger Athletics. And all season long, they brought you the look back at the weekend in the SEC when we get here on Monday afternoon at 4:30. That great new location at 4542 Poplar. Stop by and just see how nicely decorated it is and how Christmas it feels inside. Bill Jones and his team here to stay with the Mid-South's largest selection of one-of-a-kind jewelry, engagement rings, necklaces, earrings, wedding bands, 9,000 square feet in Laurelwood with expanded lines for Rolex, Cartier, diamonds, and more. Since 1970, across the Mid-South, Sissy's, they offer a selection of diamonds, estate jewelry, and fine gifts, and the official jeweler for the Memphis Grizzlies and at FedEx Forum with the floor seat lounge. Unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and an extraordinary shopping experience because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Well, we need to get to another break. When we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 95 FM. Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at TriumphAutoSales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, and great news. Good news. Your coworker Kyle said bundling home and auto insurance with Progressive could save you money. Bad news. While saying this, Kyle was eating your clearly labeled lunch. Dumb news. Pizza near work costs $7 a slice, and it tastes like drywall covered in ketchup. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and enjoy more lunches far away from Kyle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Rizi, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Doctors are allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
For Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
All right, Brett, why don't we switch it up today and you go first?
You got it. It's rare that you can see a first, and since I'm going first, I'm going to mention a first. My big number is 33. Saturday was the 33rd SEC championship game, but the first time for the SEC championship game to go to overtime. And I was pulling for Georgia. I did not want Texas waltzing in the first year and winning the SEC. I didn't. Couldn't do anything about it more than what I was doing in my house, and that was pulling for Georgia. Mm-hmm. But I was glad it ended like it did when it did. I didn't want it to get into full 7, 8, 9 overtimes and get down to those 2-point plays. It ended with mostly like a football game should look.
Yeah, no, it did. And it was a really fun game, but we did our grades. I think both those teams get an A for their first year. My big number, Brett, and it shows how busy of a day today is, this Monday edition of Sports Time, that we have not even mentioned this. My big number, $765 million.
That's a big number.
What a big number. And that
what do you think Boris's take is? If it's just 2%, figure 2% of 765.
I mean, that is, give me 1% of it. I mean, give me 0.5% of it. I don't know. I mean,
wow.
That is incredible. That is, for anybody who does not know, $765 million. That is the total amount for the 15-year contract for Juan Soto. Now, there is things in there that it can increase and go up, but Juan Soto signing with the New York Mets, not the Yankees, the Mets last
Steve
night.
Cohen, not the congressman, throwing the big money around.
And that's what he has said, and that they have the money, they're going to throw it around, and they certainly did. Juan Soto,
there might be special highway packages that Congressman Steve Cohen is responsible for West Tennessee that's not bigger than that.
Well, you might be exactly right, but now Juan Soto may be turning into the most beloved and hated person in New York. I mean, to go from the Yankees to the Mets, that is a big jump. But you're right. With that, I don't think, if I'm getting that much money, I don't think I would care either, Brett. I don't think I'd be fine with it.
No, and with the expectations.
Big expectations. I
mean, gentlemen, by the way, 2%, cool, $15.3 million.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, Darren coming in handy.
Way to go.
Thank you, Darren.
And they say that Scott Boris's operation, of course, it's a billion-dollar business that he has so many, runners and associates and things, but he runs a sport.
He does. I mean, all of the big-time players, their decisions, he handles them. And Yeah, good payday for Juan Soto. But you're right, there are going to be big expectations because nobody with the Mets or fans of the Mets are looking at this and saying, oh, cool, we got Juan Soto. This will be fun. No, we have Juan Soto, and now we're going to be competing for World Series.
Over, under, July 28th. Would you go over or under before he's booed by the home team fans at Citi Field? Over or under?
Oh, geez. So over is saying it has happened by that date, and under is saying it is not.
Right.
I'm gonna cross my fingers and pray that it's the under.
Ooh, don't start 2 for 17.
No. You start off cold.
Scuffling April.
Yeah, those New York fans are not afraid to boo you, especially when you have that price tag.
And you know when they play interleague.
Oh man.
In the Bronx, he's going to get it from them. But
yeah, he's going to get it bad from.
It's a little bit like Alabama football. Whining and crying today. Yankees. So for the first time ever, you don't get your way.
Yeah, for the first time, somebody told you no.
Yeah.
And
welcome to the real world. Because I'm old enough to remember, Bryant, when the St. Louis Cardinals had a chance at a deal for Soto and wouldn't make it, protecting Dylan Carlson.
That's right. Went up personally to Dylan Carlson's locker and said, "You're not going anywhere. You're our guy. You're our future, Dylan."
I'd forgot that part of the story.
No, that was the big part of it, is that they personally went and told him that he was not going to be in any trade deals. Dylan Carlson.
Passed on Soto. No, wouldn't have kept him. Couldn't have kept him during all this.
No.
Where do you think Arenado goes?
Well, that's a good question. I saw a story over the weekend that there's not much of a trade market for him. And, maybe now that Soto's off the table, more teams willing to go out and make moves like that. I don't know, but hopefully he's not with the Cardinals.
He's open to a position.
He is.
Switch.
Yeah. I just, I think that's a guy that, if you're the Cardinals, you got to make a move and get rid of him. Which I hate to say. I like Arenado, but
I think maybe waited too long. It should have been around deadline time.
No, I think that's a great point. I mean, deadline felt like when you should be making those moves, when it's even more of an opportunity for a team to say, okay, we're making a run. We could use a guy like Arenado. Maybe he's not having his best year. Maybe he's on the backside of his career, but we could use him and make a deal. And now
somebody like Cleveland.
That's a good one.
Got them a little desperate.
That's a really good
Detroit.
Team. Yeah, I mean there's definitely a handful of teams
Cardinals
out there
missed
that I
that
think would have been there. And we're talking about is trade deadline. You need to go out and start selling and start getting rid of these guys.
That was Goldsmith. That was Helsley, Emsley, Heisley time.
Still getting the name down. No, but I mean, they missed that opportunity, and now you see the reports coming out that there's not much of trade interest for him right now, and it's a little disappointing.
And if he starts out, hitting
211, I don't even want to think about it.
It'll be less of a market for him.
Well, that's right. Is I think the market probably only shrinks from here. I don't think, in terms of once the season starts, because I don't know how much left he has in the tank, and that's what worries me.
How much of the Soto money, no doubt, is wired into his account today?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I haven't looked at the contract details, but I'd certainly take whatever it is.
Let's just say 20%. It popped up in his account this morning.
What a great way to start your day.
Man.
And I mean,
Of course, tax man's right there wanting half.
Oh, sure. But I mean, this is Juan Soto.
But it's still pretty good.
Yeah, no. And I think we've talked about this before. Juan Soto is the player in all of sports that I always forget how old he is. I mean, because it feels like he's been around forever.
With the Nationals.
Exactly. And that feels like such a long time ago. And the fact he just turned 26 in October, to get that type of payday.
If you were starting a team today, do you start it with him as your regular player, non-pitcher?
I think you'd go Shohei and then him.
You can't have Shohei go pitch.
That's fine. I almost would prefer Shohei just be a bat at this point. I'm
with you. Who would be 3?
That's a really good question.
About a 30-way tie?
Yeah, I think that's when because I think right now in Major League Baseball, it's whatever order you want to put it in. Shohei and Soto are in the tier by themselves, and then it feels like there's the gap is there, and then it feels like there's a handful of guys in that next.
How far do we have to get to Mike Trout?
Oh,
because we remember when he was 1. everybody would have started with him.
Yeah, and that's the problem is now I think, because of the injuries and because he's not in there really at all, is you almost start forgetting about Mike Trout. And it's sad because you're right. He was the mountaintop of Major League Baseball.
When healthy, a couple of those Braves are in that.
Oh, certainly. I mean,
that discussion.
Acuna healthy is in that next tier. And I think you could probably make an argument of if you don't have to worry about health and injuries with him, he might be number 3 on that list.
A man named Judge.
A man named Judge was certainly in the running for it. What he does, he'd probably be 3 right now. But there's a handful of guys I think could be in that conversation.
Is this a slide at baseball, pox on baseball, that kind of money, or does this scream this is healthy that we can do this?
I think it's healthy. I think so.
I don't see how baseball should be ridiculed for it.
No. I think it's only a good thing. I mean,
because everybody can't do it,
right? And I think the issue is when leagues aren't successful and leagues are struggling, they can't pay players. And so when you're throwing around money like this, and obviously you can get into the nitty gritty of with Shohei's, his is being deferred and yada yada yada. But to be able to have this as a headline that he's making that much money, I think it's very healthy.
Also, baseball, too, Veterans Committee players will go into Cooperstown next summer, announced this weekend that Dave Parker, most people will remember him with the Pirates, and Richie Allen, later to become Dick Allen, 1 year with the Cardinals, most of his great years with the Phillies, some good ones on the south side with the White Sox wearing red like Brother Connor likes to wear sometimes with it Southsiders.
Yeah, no, so that was cool to see that news. So I think good baseball news. I think this is the type of baseball news we needed after the news last week from Major League Baseball.
For sure.
Golden at bat, not a good headline for the sport. But
let's try to act like it really didn't happen.
Please,
let's really do it.
Hopefully by opening day, we can act like that never happened.
It was just a deep fake. It really didn't happen.
Yeah.
We move on.
Yeah, one of those middle of the winter, just.
Well, it did something to me.
Oh man, Brett,
just that somebody can get that close to a man named Fred and offer that up as an idea,
and that it got so.
And
much,
Manfred listens,
and that it got so much traction that it was pushed out there by the media of this could be coming down the road.
If I were commissioner of baseball and somebody offered that up to me, I laugh. Uproariously in their face.
Oh, Brett, in my lifetime, I've come up with plenty of ridiculous ideas. And the person I tell them to go, yeah, okay, it's a great idea. And then
serious inquiries only, please,
never
Brian.
say it again. And then, but this at least had some traction enough that where all the media outlets
got front page of everywhere. Oh, wow.
We don't have enough time to even get into it. Let's get to a break, wrap up our second hour. When we come back, we're talking some Grizzlies basketball. The Red Hot Grizzlies coming off a 2-win weekend with wins over the Celtics and the Wizards. DeMichael Cole, he's been covering all of it for the Commercial Appeal. He's the Grizzlies beat writer. We'll talk to him about everything that happened over the weekend. We'll do that next on Sportstime.
Shack in the Lowe's parking lot on summer just keeps getting bigger and better. Bigger because now there's a second Elwood Shack at 4040 Park across from the University of Memphis. And better because you can get breakfast every day at both Elwood. There's the barbecue breakfast burrito. You can eat brisket or pork shoulder and pancake biscuits made fresh daily. Real house-made pancakes, apple and bacon, French toast, and more. And the new Elwood's even has a real coffee bar serving fresh roasted J. Brooks coffee. Elwood Shack, now in 2 locations and open every day for you.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I Pluck Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Fiveash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you. handcrafted items you can't find anywhere else. And this year, Genesis is featuring their largest ever selection of luxury premium watch watches and dials. Relax. Genesis non-commission experts will guide you, respecting your price range, and whatever you choose, you can divide the price by 60 and get your super low payment. This year, the gift that sends the message of love like nothing else. A beautiful piece of jewelry from Genesis. Any store hours, directions, finance details, and GenesisDials.com. Genesis Dials.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios, we are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Club Safety. Once again,
You say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't understand. You said you love me, and that's a fact.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you, and joining us now to talk some Grizzlies. DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal, joins us now. DeMichael, thanks so much for joining us. Grizzlies 2-0 over the weekend, and the big story, the win on the road against the defending NBA champ Boston Celtics. A good win for them against what is still a really good team in the NBA.
It's still one of the best teams.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with Porzingis back in the fold, I think people realize the majority of the work that they did last year was without him, and he takes them to an even, more dangerous level. So you take on the Celtics, and you weathered the storm, right? You're winning pretty much most of the game, and then the Celtics, they just kept pecking away. They wouldn't go away. And then early in the fourth quarter, they take that lead, and you're thinking like, yep, that the Grizzlies had a good run of it. But no, they fought back. Jaren Jackson Jr. took over to get 14 in the fourth quarter. He had his dominant stretch. Ja had his dominant stretch, and then Desmond Bane, two real big shots down in the last 3 minutes there. So just a great all-around team performance for them. And kind of the performance right now that kind of signifies that this team belongs.
It sure does, DeMarco. That is a good way to put it. It belongs. It's going to be a contender all year if he's staying healthy. We know we've more than had our share of injuries with this franchise over the last year and a half. Last Tuesday night in Dallas was so close to being the win of the year, but out of that loss, I think that helped Saturday night in Boston.
That loss helped not only for Saturday night, but yeah, it's going to help going forward. I mean, I think you're right on the money. What stood out to me was there were a lot of things from that loss that shifted in Saturday games. And, my old coach used to always say, one of my old coaches used to say that we weren't losing when we would lose games. They were just lessons. And each game that we, quote-unquote, lost would be a lesson. And in Dallas, I think if we think about big picture, that game's probably not going to be remembered more for a loss. It's going to be remembered more for a lesson, simply because of the fact that when you went into that game, in Dallas, aside the boneheaded mistakes that they made, right, with the fouling and things like that. But in this game, the Grizzlies won. Taylor Jenkins decided to play Jaren Jackson Jr. the entire fourth quarter. In Dallas, there was a stretch of more than 2 minutes where John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. were both off the floor. The Grizzlies did not score in that entire stretch. And it kind of just, to me, set the tone for the rest of the quarter with the offensive struggles that they had. Like, if you get a basket or two in that stretch with Jaren or Ja on the floor, you got a little more room to work with. But they didn't score in that stretch without those two. And then, of course, when they got back on the floor, there wasn't much success. But playing alongside of those two in the last game was Santi and Marcus Smart in the closing lineup. That's kind of been the closing lineup that the Grizzlies have relied on for the most part. But you know what? The best coaches, they coach off a field down the stretch. And a good example of that in the case of Taylor Jenkins in this game simply was he had a stretch. He had a moment there where he could have went back to Marcus Smart, but he felt the game out. He realized Marcus Smart is struggling right now. Marcus Smart is 1 of 11 from the field, and And Conti wasn't playing bad, but Brandon Clark was playing so well. Brandon Clark had 18 points, I think 9 of 11 shooting from the field. He was very impactful on the glass as well. Taylor Jenkins went to Jake LaRavia in place of the struggling Marcus Smart, which also gave you a bigger defender to go against, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, those guys. And he turned to Brandon Clark, and that, in part, was very critical for them. So I think when you look back on it, he can say, you know what? Maybe it is the right thing to not have Jaren Jackson Jr. or Ja Morant not on the floor at any point of the fourth quarter, because the way that Jaren took over that fourth quarter, he definitely realized it was the right decision, because it allowed Ja to rest a couple minutes, and you got Ja coming back into the game. And even when Ja came back in, Desmond Bane made big shots. And I know in that Dallas game, Desmond Bane was dealing with some foul trouble there in the fourth quarter. So a little bit different circumstantial situation for him. But, yeah, I think there were a lot of lessons learned in that fourth quarter of Dallas, and there were some changes made when they went to Boston.
Yeah. In that game against Boston, Ja Morant had the highlight dunk over Kristaps Porzingis where he kind of double clutches and hammers it. And I was watching the game with one of my buddies, and he jumps up and exclaims, "He's a liar! He's a liar! He said he wasn't going to dunk again." And I think while he was joking, saying that, I think some people did think, "Oh, Ja Morant's we're never gonna see highlight reel dunks from Ja Morant again," after his comments last week. But he showed in that game against Boston, when he feels like he needs to pull it out, he's still very capable of doing it.
Yeah, and I think, it was a great story written by Tim at the time, but that was kind of the way that it was portrayed to me too. Like, even, with the alley-oops and things like that, like when he has to throw them down, he's going to throw it down.
Mm-hmm.
I think his message wasn't that I'm just never going to dunk again, even though he kind of said it that way. But it was more so that I'm going to, take away the reckless dunk.
Mm-hmm.
The ones where he's jumping. I mean, if you go back, I think the perfect example, if you look at the last playoff series the Grizzlies ever played, it was against the Los Angeles Lakers. How many times did we see Ja Morant just soar through the air trying to dunk over Anthony Davis and all
anybody.
The bigs, LeBron James, whoever. He it was just recklessness for his body, and he was falling all over the place. You remember he hurt his wrist in that series.
Because you got to come down. Mr. Newton was right. You got to land.
Yep, you got to land. You got to land. And I don't care how high you can jump. That landing is you're gonna feel it. So I think that's kind of more of his message than I'm not gonna dunk at all. Because there's gonna be situations where he's met at the rim, and it's gonna be a guy that jumps really high. It's gonna be a guy with some long arms. So when you try to go to the reverse layup, they're gonna swipe down with those long arms. So it might be better to just clear a guy. And, occasionally we'll see it. And, there are going to be situations when he's cutting back door. And, it's going to make more sense for, instead of him to do a bounce pass, to throw an alley-oop so he can get it up quick before the defense recognizes the play. So we'll still see Ja Morant dunk. Like, I don't think people should take it that he's never going to dunk again. Like, but it's just going to be more of a rare occasion.
Yeah. And the big story last week when we talked to you, or maybe it might have happened right after we talked to you last week, was the Cam Spencer game with the hustle, where he goes out for 51 points. He makes 12 three-pointers in the game. And then we got to see his first extended run with the Grizzlies last night against the Wizards. He plays 25 minutes, ends up with 14 points, went 2 for 4 from 3, also had 5 assists. What did you see last night from Cam Spencer?
Yeah, he's finally got some reps under his belt, and the G League reps were good for him. When he played when he made his NBA debut, you could just tell, like, okay, he's got to get some time under him. He didn't have a preseason. He didn't have, a lot of times like Jalen Wells and Zach Edey when they were, playing a bunch of minutes in the preseason. So, you could sense, him, I wouldn't say second guessing, but being more timid. But what we saw in this last game was, he played free. That was a guy who's gotten some reps down in the G League. That was a guy who's now a couple weeks removed, from that ankle injury, and he's able to, do less thinking and more instinctive playing. And when he's doing that, that's the result. You're going to see a couple made three-pointers. You're going to see some assists in there. I think he had 4 assists. And you're going to see some rebounding. He's very capable as a rebounder as well. I think that was something that people at UConn were telling me about. Like he's a dog. He'll get in there and mix it up, and we saw a little bit of that as well.
DeMichael, this team's going so well. I don't want to be negative at all, but right now in this good stretch, what is the glaring deficiency? What is something that you think management and the coaching staff and the players all know we got to lock down on this?
The glaring man, it's tough to say when you're top 5 in offensive rating and defensive rating and net rating. So you got to be real nitpicky here. I'll say this. I think, because there are a couple things, and some things will be opponent by opponent. Like, for example, we want to take the Boston game. I think that game plan worked to a T on Drew Holiday. That if you want to say over the course of a full series, I don't think that'll work. So it's little things like that. Like in the game against the Mavs, there are going to be certain matchups where, like guarding a guy like Luka down in the stretch, Luka and Kyrie, having those closers
on the ball defense on Luka.
Exactly. That is still a question mark for me. I think, in a way,
but who does it well? So that's a deficiency for 29 other teams.
But the thing with the Grizzlies is, quite frankly, the game against Boston, you beat Boston, you beat them in Boston. I'm not taking anything away from that. I'm just more answering your question here. It was the 5th game in 7 nights. It was the second leg of a back-to-back. Surely they had been 4-0 in back-to-backs before that. I'm very aware of that stat. But it was the 5th game in 7 nights, and we know how Grizzlies players were, talking when they were going through a similar stretch earlier this season. So maybe you didn't get the most aggressive version of Jason Tatum. Maybe because when Jason Tatum was getting downhill, I didn't think he was ineffective. It just that's not how he played the entire game. So I think the Dallas game is the one that I nitpick from. Is I say, okay, where does this team need to continue to improve as we get to the latter stretch of the season? And it's still, shooting. Like you had some. You had somewhat anomalies in that game against Boston. Some things that I don't think are sustainable throughout the entire series. Like, Ja made his first 4 3-pointers, shot 4 or 6 from 3-point range. How many times have we seen him do that this season? Yeah. So there were a couple things that were out of the norm. Even Drew Holiday, it was a great plan, but it was a plan for that game. And as we've seen, the Grizzlies have done this with several players. Like, it was noticeable because of Drew Holiday, but they've done this to Herb Jones several games. Go look at the stats when the Grizzlies play the Pelicans, and you'll notice that Herb Jones takes a lot of shots. And if you look at the first couple times, they got the better of him. But then Herb Jones ended up making the Grizzlies pay due to playing that style. So if you want to nitpick, that's kind of what I would. It'd be more situational to the matchup. I don't think that this team has too many glaring weaknesses other than, like I said, the shooting is something I still do not wholeheartedly trust. But they're sound. I mean, they're clicking right now. They're playing really well on the offensive end. They're playing really well on the defensive end. They're tough to beat.
Mm-hmm. Talking to DeMichael Cole, he joins us every week from the Commercial Appeal to talk Grizzlies. DeMichael, last week, Taylor Jenkins spoke with you and the rest of the media and talked about Zach Edey. He had practiced with the Hustle, I believe, the day before this interview, and Taylor Jenkins, you tweeted it out. Taylor Jenkins said the Grizzlies, quote, weren't comfortable, end of quote, with where Zach Edey is in his progression. We'll continue to monitor him over the next couple of weeks. What did you make of that update about the big man from Taylor Jenkins?
Yeah, it's a delay in his return. So, the plan, I think, at that point, around this time last week, the plan was for him to get a couple more practices under his belt, especially the practice down in the G League, kind of see where he goes after that, and then you're ramping him up. Then you're playing some 5-on-5 stuff, and you're looking for a return later in the week. Like, the idea, the hope was for him to be back for one of those games, Boston or Washington. But when they say they weren't comfortable, I know some people thought it was maybe a performance thing. It was strictly the injury. You got to remember this is a 7'3", 7'4" guy who's 290 pounds, and you're talking about an ankle injury. So, and he didn't have many of them in college, but we've seen enough of them to be careful with this situation. I mean, he had 2 in the summer league, and then he had that first one, earlier in the season. So I think it's a situation where the Grizzlies are operating out of caution. But with all that being said, not overly serious. I mean, he could be back, I say maybe early next week, potentially even the end of this week, because the team's about to be practicing this week, and if everything goes well in the practice, he'll have time throughout the week since they have some time off to kind of ramp up. So we'll see, how his progression goes. I'm thinking probably early next week maybe, but at the end of the day, he'll be back sooner than later. It's not like a big delay. Unless there's another, delay on top of it. But it's not something where they're expecting, him to be out much longer.
Yeah, well, it feels like, and you kind of mentioned it, the way this week is set up with a lot of rest, it'd be good for the Grizzlies. Try to give him more time to get him back on the court.
Now has swung favorably toward the Grizzlies.
No, it definitely has.
I mean, no team up to this point has played more NBA games than the Grizzlies except the Orlando Magic. No one in the West has played more games than them.
That's crazy. Oh, in terms of injuries, what have you heard with Gigi and Vince? Any updates on those two guys?
Yeah, Gigi's progressing well, but it's a major injury for still a 19-year-old. He'll turn 20 here in the next week or so. But yeah, it's a major injury for him, and you know what? They're being very cognizant of the fact that when you got to be very careful with guys this young in these type of injuries, because it could alter his career. It could alter the trajectory of his career. And I don't think that's hyperbole. It's just the fact that he's very young, and you want to make sure you do this thing the right way. Gigi, is open to the idea that I gotta, he wants to be back, but there's a process here. And one person that he's relied on is Jaren Jackson Jr., and how the Grizzlies handled that situation. We've seen how Jaren turned out from that. With Vince Williams, he's not in the boot or anything anymore. So that's pretty much the progression that I have there. I'm sure probably in the next couple weeks you'll start to see him doing some more individual things and stuff like that before maybe around the new year they'll be ramping him up. So we'll see how that goes.
But this is good times, air of good feeling around the franchise. And DeMichael, I know it can change 2 or 3 spots with one single night, but it's fun to look at 2 in the seed right now in the West.
Yeah, reminds you of the old days, right? I mean, this is where they were the 2 previous seasons before last season. Number 2 seed. I know Oklahoma City has a little bit of a gap between them and the rest of the West right now. But the Grizzlies are firmly in that conversation. They're playing really good basketball on both ends, like we were just talking about. Like it's tough to really nitpick, the problems. They have depth. They have great offensive players. You have a couple closers now. I think one of the bigger developments that could potentially separate this team from those previous 2 teams that were really good, the 56-win team and the 51-win team, is the fact that everybody around here knows that Jaren Jackson Jr. is a closer now, whereas in those years it was just called 12, right? It was just get the ball to John Moran, and teams would load up on them, and, you try to find your way to the finish line. But it's different now. It's, hey, we can close through Jaren like you did in Boston. So he's also graded out as one of the best, the best one-on-one scorers, best isolation scorers in the NBA right now, over the last couple seasons, actually. So I think that's a big development as well.
Last Thursday night when Ja was ejected, I was at that game, and I thought everybody was getting ready to get tossed. Taylor Jenkins, all the assistants, front row, back row, everybody.
Get the fans out of there too, huh? Like it's everybody's about to. Yeah, but when I did the pool report for that one, I mean, you should have seen my face because I was in the room by myself, and how the pool reports work is, we basically requested, during the game. There's a pool reporter for each game, and I was the pool reporter for this game, and we requested a pool report and whatnot, and as I'm asking the questions and we're doing the interview, and Pat Frayer, who was the crew chief referee for this game, and he, as you saw in the pool report, he admits that after review, they got the call on John Moran wrong. My face just lights up because I've done, not a bunch of these, but maybe in the 4 seasons now. 4 seasons that I've covered this team, I've done probably 10 pool reports, maybe 5. Like, not a lot. Like, probably 5 pool reports. And usually it's the same old, same old. It is just, we'll review it later. It's very, you don't get much out of them.
Mostly move along.
Exactly. But in this case, I mean, it was just very not normal to see them admit to being wrong. So that was very notable.
Yeah, it was a wild game and a wild moment, but I think the pool report, I think you at least, if you were watching the game, you were happy to know. I wasn't crazy. That wasn't a foul.
Yeah,
that should have been called.
John wasn't crazy.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
What he did. Yeah.
Well, DeMichael, a weird week for the Grizzlies. Only 2 games before we talk to you again. Friday against a Brooklyn team that's really had the Grizzlies' numbers, and then Sunday on the road against the Los Angeles team that has struggled. Hopefully, next week when we talk to you, we'll be talking about another 2-0 week. Thanks for joining us. We'll do it again next week.
All right, take care, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks, DeMichael.
Thank you, DeMichael. And you mentioned the Lakers coming up, and it is showing that all these coaching changes for the Lakers, I don't know what coach could have them in better shape. Now J.J. Redick is catching it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I still think J.J. Redick was a good hire. I think he's done some good things with the Lakers. But anytime you are the Lakers and you look up and in such a kind of short span.
But Pat Riley's not winning
losses.
big with this team.
No. It's not a great team, but I'm not surprised Laker fans are happy. I mean, you look at it, 1, 2, 3 wins since November 21st. I mean, that's
and some big margin defeats.
Oh yeah, I mean that game against Miami, what was it, last Wednesday, 134-93. I mean that's a not a good look for the Lakers. And so, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but I do think it's part of that just kind of Lakers. They expect to win every time they go out there, and they don't know how to handle stuff like this.
Sacramento right now out of the playoffs. They'll get that Lakers spot. The Lakers won't make it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, like you said, this isn't a well-constructed roster, and that has nothing to do with JJ. It's the team he inherited, and I guess we'll see what happens going into next year, because I don't think you can be competitive at this level with kind of that type of roster they have.
And around sports, anything more hopeless than the Washington Wizards?
Oh, geez, Brett. I mean, what was it? I guess that game Saturday night, and they were talking about Wizards finally win a game. Yeah, they were on the Grizzlies broadcast. Pete and Brevin were talking about it, because it had been such a long time since they had won a game and got the win Saturday and then turned right around the next day and lose very convincingly to the Grizzlies without 2 of the best players on the court. But yeah, I mean,
knowing they could rest them.
I mean, before that game, Denver, a win on Saturday, October 30th was the last win. We talked about that last week. They started the season 2-2, and they until Saturday hadn't won a game.
What if that's a seed line game for Denver?
Could be.
Sure could be.
That's a game if you're Denver.
As
you got to win
compacted
that
as
game.
the West.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, don't know what happened in that game. Nikola Jokic went for 56 and 16, and still the Nuggets could not beat the Wizards. So a weird game. I wasn't watching that too much.
Chamberlain-esque stat lines for him.
He's incredible, and just continues to do what he does. Grizzlies missed out on him in that back-to-back where he had a day off when his birth of his baby.
I don't want to send you on a wild goose chase. We talked about the 17, and I swear I was guessing. I have no idea on this one. Last year, when did the Grizzlies get to 11 home wins?
Oh, that's a good question. I can get you that information when we return. I won't be able to do it that fast to get it in right now, but I can get that by the end of the show. I will have that answer for you. Before we get to this break, let me remind you about our great sponsors, Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. They're with us every afternoon at 5 o'clock. Jaguar Bluff City, they've been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. Their talented team, they're ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the Range Rover Sport, the Range Rover Velar, and the Defender. Test drive the 2025 Range Rover Sport, where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility, with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender, available in multiple models to fit your needs. The Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169. They can help with any questions you might have. You can visit them online, jaguarbluffcity.com, but please go out there and test drive these beautiful vehicles. It's a perfect time with the holidays here, Christmas right around the corner. Why not make your Christmas perfect with a brand new vehicle? 6335 Wheel Cove, right there just off of Quince. You won't miss it. Head over there and check out those vehicles at Bluff City Jaguar. Well, let's get to a break, and when we come back, it'll be time for our Monday Night Football pick and preview. Cincinnati at Dallas. We'll have coverage right here on Sports 56 starting at 7 o'clock. But when we come back, we'll make our pick. We'll also do our Big Four. That's next on Sports Time.
Hello, sports fans out there. Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it, we'd love to have you. Also, our barbecue party packs start at $8.75 a person. Barbecue, beans, slaw, bun sauce, including serving utensils. Especially great for tailgating with football season coming up. The commissary restaurants also believe in giving back to the community. Possibly you have been approached by somebody selling a barbecue 6-pack coupon for fundraising. Cheerleading groups, church groups, anything to help a worthy cause. Holidays are near. Smoked hams and smoked turkeys will be on the pit before you know it. Come see us at Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Also check us out at commissarybarbecue.com.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Metis today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Sports 56 traffic.
With a couple of accidents out here, we've got this heavy traffic volume over here right on schedule on 40 East coming past Sycamore View Road, Whitten Road, headed on out into Fayette County. It's finally starting to pick up with more volume just in the last few minutes on 240 as you get on to 385 Billmores Parkway going outbound. Shop now and save during the holiday season at Weiber's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64. Shop local this holiday season. You'll save a lot of money. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Howard Cosell. Welcome aboard. ABC's Monday Night Football.
All right, another Monday night, and that means Monday Night Football pick and preview. Bengals at Cowboys tonight in Dallas, the Big D. We'll have coverage right here on Sports 56 starting at 7 o'clock for this game. Kickoff around 7:15 or so. Should be a good game, but we got to do our pick and we got to do our Big Four. 2 Big Fours today, a little bit of a wild card.
2 Big Fours, and guess who won the weekend in the NFL? Well, it was Darian. He was 2-0. I was 2-0, but Darian 7-2 in college.
Wow.
Connor was 6-3 in college. Bryant, you and I are both 5-4. Bryant 0-2 in NFL. Connor 0-2 in NFL.
It's tough. Tough happens. You got to regroup and bounce back.
That's it. Just dust yourself off.
That's right.
That's gaming, isn't it?
It sure is.
Or keep the train rolling. You know, depends on how you look at it.
It's for you.
Or that one for the Big D, Cincinnati tonight against Dallas. I think both of these teams really are out of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. It feels like it.
Cincinnati, they won't admit it.
No, and
Jerry Jones won't admit it.
No, well that's a great point, Brett. You got 2 teams that are out of it, but neither team will admit that they're out of it. Too much pride.
Speaking of out of it, you look at those AFC standings. There are a lot of teams officially eliminated with ease by their name in the standings.
We were talking about that last week, right? Where it doesn't feel like there's a middle class, a middle level in the NFL. There are teams that are really good, and there are teams that are really bad. And as we get kind of deeper into the year, you're starting to see a lot of teams very quickly being eliminated.
6 officially eliminated, so that means you have what? 5 or 10. You have 10 that are going for 7 spots.
Wow, it's crazy.
And Cincinnati 4-8. They would get an E by their name tonight if they lost tonight.
Yeah, they would. So it's a big game for them, I guess.
All right, Darren, you started out since you're the top picker.
All right, where are we going? The picks or the coaches?
Picks.
The picks. Okay, I'm going
Cincinnati minus 5.5.
Give me Mr. Rush and the Dallas Cowboys. I've been on the Cowboys lately, so plus 5.5. So I got a question for you. Have you seen the Bengals defense?
I have.
If that answer, I was hoping you would say no, because neither have I. No one has seen it. There is
looks
no
like spring football defenses.
no defense in Cincinnati. So give me Dallas. Give me Cooper Rush. I'm all in.
Cooper Rush. Can he go through your defense? If you can and you lose and you're eliminated, that could eliminate a lot of coaches.
Ooh, yeah, it definitely could.
Connor takes Dallas. Brian.
Are we even asking me?
Sweet.
Kind of a shame I didn't wear my hat today. What was I thinking this morning? Yeah, give me Dallas.
I really am disappointed.
I think it's in the car. I could go put it on real quick.
But I thought it'd be full gear today on Monday Night Football.
We'll wait and we'll see. You know, this has been one of those years where you got to wait and see. If they win, you come in. If they lose, well,
that kind of fan, huh?
No. It's just
not a true loyalist like me with my Lions.
Oh, yes. No, I don't think I could ever get anywhere close to being as loyal as
you Lions.
With your Lions. But it's just been one of those years, Brett.
Dude, I've been a Lion fan at least 8 weeks.
Yeah, at least. Maybe, give or take.
I don't even know if it's 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe since the time change. That's how long.
Maybe.
I may not stay with them through the next time change either. I'm not going group lock. I'm going to take Cincinnati. The power of Joe Burrow. It's Joe Burrow against Cooper Rush.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point, but I'll take these Cowboys at home. Give them to me.
All right, the big four for these two. Remember, coaches in these franchise history. Who's your big four coaches, Derry?
All right, starting at 4. So I got 3 Cowboys and 1 Cincinnati Bengal. I got Mr. Paul Brown. He's at 4.
That's me. I'm Paul Brown 4.
I got Mr. Jimmy Johnson. He's at 3. Mr. Tom Landry at 2. And Mr. Bill Parcells at 1.
All right, we're close. I have Jimmy Johnson 1.
Okay.
Over Bill Parcells. Not just because he did, well, the only thing he really ever did championship-wise was with Dallas. Parcells with Giants and Super Bowl appearances with others. Not that much with Dallas, but not bad with Dallas. Not bad. And Tom Landry 3. So Johnson, Parcells, Landry, Paul Brown for me. No Sam Weiss, no Forrest Gregg. No Barry Switzer for anybody.
Brett, is it fair to say that Parcells is probably more famous with his battles with T.O. than actually what he did on the field in Dallas?
Yes.
Probably so.
By not calling his name, that player, that wide receiver, so on and so forth.
All right, my top 4, and again, no biases here from me at all. And
you sure?
The slightest. No biases at all.
All Cowboys.
Number 4, I wish. Number 4 is Sam Weiss for me.
Really?
I just threw one in there, just eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I just,
one Super Bowl for him.
Yeah, I mean,
probably shoulda, coulda.
Sure, a good coach. I didn't want to be all Cowboys, so I went with.
Oh, he was close in that one against Joe Montana.
Yeah. He got that one. He certainly would have been on all 3 of our lists. 3 for me, Barry Switzer. Number 2, Tom Landry, and number 1, Jimmy Johnson.
No Parcells. You chose Switzer. That's what I want to check. You chose Switzer.
Only 4 years. Wasn't very good with the Cowboys.
Chose Barry over Parcells.
34-30, 0-2 in the playoffs. I mean, now everyone wants to say Cowboys, you do it in the playoffs. Hey, Parcells.
Barry Switzer did win one.
He did. So he gets
ran into great 49er teams to not maybe go further.
He gets my nod. Bill Parcells.
And right after that, Brett, the greatest heist ever, they stole Dion from me.
They did.
Yeah.
They sure did.
And Charles Haley, by the way.
They sure did. Yes.
All right, quarterbacks for these two franchises combined.
Okay.
Number 1 for me, Troy Aikman. 2, Roger Staubach. 3, Joe Burrow. Yeah, playing right now, Joe Burrow. 4, Ken Anderson. I can't do Romo, and I sure can't do Dak.
You want me to go next?
Yeah, go for it.
I'll start number 1 because our top 2 are the exact same. Number 1, Troy Aikman. I mean, number 1 easily. 2, Roger Staubach. 3, Don Meredith. And 4, Romo. Oh, Tony Romo.
No Bengals.
Please, the Bengals? No.
Joe Burrow's already been to more Super Bowls than Tony Romo.
I mean, Joe Burrow would have been on my list, but, just the injuries.
Don Meredith, no Super Bowls.
Don Meredith, I mean, what a guy. You got to throw in what he did TV-wise afterwards.
I didn't know that was part of it.
It's got to be part of good representation of
Speaking
of
of that, yesterday was the 44th anniversary, 1980, live during Monday Night Football, that Howard Cosell broke the news to the nation and to the world of the death of John Lennon being shot in New York.
Really?
During Monday Night Football.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
44 years ago yesterday.
How about that?
1980.
Huh.
And it was seminal live TV moment of the 20th century.
Wow. Darren, your top 4?
Wow. All right, Mr. Roger Staubach. I think that's a given.
You have him as number 1?
No, he's 4.
Oh, you have him as
I got him at
4?
4.
Wow.
Yep. Carson Palmer. I'm actually going to throw Carson in there.
Okay.
At his best, Carson was in
great
fuego.
statistics.
I mean, he was great. He just didn't win the big ones.
Couple of bad injuries.
Yeah.
Yep, he just didn't win the big one.
I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. Maybe not anytime soon, but someday.
Okay.
But if you should be someday, why not go do it soon?
Yeah. I guess now's as good time as ever.
Yeah, that's what they do, right? So
yeah.
And then so after that, top 2, Troy Aikman.
At 2?
At 2. I want Joe Burrow so bad. I'm going Joe Burrow number 1.
Joe Burrow 1?
I'm going Joe Burrow 1.
There's no bigger Joe Burrow fan than me.
I think
Joe Burrow 1.
I think he is amazing.
Yeah.
If you go by just the stats of the most 300 yards, no interceptions, and at least 3 touchdowns, and losing those games, he leads the NFL.
And he doesn't play defense.
And he cannot help it.
That's true.
He cannot help. I would give up my entire draft for him. I would pull
He
up
is
Mike
his
Ditka.
beloved.
I would pull up Mike Ditka and just give up my entire draft right now.
He is beloved at LSU unlike any other. I mean, bigger than Billy Cannon, bigger than Jaden, bigger than anyone. The number 9s are everywhere.
I believe that for sure. Huh. Number 1.
I love Joe Burrow, but I've been topped.
Yeah,
I found somebody that loves him more.
I would take Burrow
Brett, I'm
right
speechless.
now.
I don't even know what to say.
He is awesome. He is awesome.
Troy Aikman. Huh.
Roger Staubach, huh?
Oh, watch this.
Staubach at 4.
Ken Anderson sure should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Ken Anderson should be in the Hall of Fame.
Firm believe if he had a big 3, he'd have a ring. Burrow. If he had a big 3.
Sure.
Well, he's got a big 1.
But, okay, Troy wasn't a big 1.
No Tony Romo.
No, Brian. No, nobody believes that. Only you.
Tony.
I still see him sitting on the field with that helmet that last couple of games or whatever. It just,
I tried to not be biased, but when you get quarterbacks, I mean, how can I not be biased? Romo, my childhood.
Where's your almost your
my
OLI?
OLI?
Your OLI. I don't know why I forget that.
It was Burrow. I mean, the injuries. He's can't be my top 4 because of the injuries. I don't know.
Nobody had Danny White.
No.
I saw Danny White on the Arizona State sideline Saturday at that game. Yeah. I bet he lives in Dallas.
Sure, yeah.
So, big Arizona State alum.
Of course, yeah. Wow, I missed that.
Tickets available at the Big 12 game.
Oh, Brett, tickets available a lot of different places.
And the championship games were horrible Friday night and into Saturday, and then the fuse got lit at the SEC.
The Heisman Trophy finalists just announced on ESPN: Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, Dylan Gabriel, and Cam Ward.
Okay.
Wow.
So, 2 quarterbacks, a running back.
I can either confirm or deny that 2 of the 4 were on my list.
I believe it.
2 of the 4 were on my 3.
I believe that.
Hey, and how about Andy Dalton for both teams?
Nah.
Missed that one, right?
Darren, I do like to put, if you played on both teams, I do like to try to find a way to get you on my list.
Oh, yeah, Andy Dalton.
The ultimate backup.
No Jason Garrett for anybody.
Please, Jason Garrett. Oh, my God.
Hey, he won you a Thanksgiving game. He's got a turkey leg, man.
Guess
he got him a turkey leg. He got him a turkey leg.
Longley won a Thanksgiving game.
No. With that notion, I mean, no Mike McCarthy. I mean,
Craig Morton.
Oh, jeez, yeah, Craig Morton.
Drew Bledsoe.
Bledsoe was a Cowboy, wasn't he?
If you love Tuna, you had to love Bledsoe.
That's true. Yeah. Huh. A lot of names.
Wasn't Ryan Leaf a Cowboy at one point?
Sure was.
Ryan Leaf.
Yeah.
Drew Henson.
All right, we're getting a little out of hand with some of these names now.
Kellen Moore, baby.
Oh, please. That's really when we need to get to a break. Let's get to a break. And when we come back, we will wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous? Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in the 32-ounce jar. It's so good the base will marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or at our house has been the Greek seasoning. My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. And she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from a Mediterranean diet or steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with the perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket. And he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available at Rendezvous or online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it. A beloved family of families still going strong since 1948. Rendezvous.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to find a moving that fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving. Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Metis today. 901-382-2363 or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call them 382-2363. That's 382-2363. I'm with John Burgess from the world-famous Rendezvous in the alley since 1948. Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia, to Central Park in New York. Many people don't realize how much we do love them. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 per person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering. Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgess' Rendezvous in the alley since 1948, celebrating its 75th year. Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest Crunch Time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye!
it's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today is we're getting a ton of news in terms of off-season news, college football-wise. Transfer portal, guys jumping in, coaches making decisions on if they'll take jobs or stay. But the biggest one, especially concerning the Memphis Tigers, the news that came out last night that Tulane head coach John Sumrall has informed school officials that he is not pursuing other jobs this cycle. So it sounds like he will be back at Tulane next year. But his starting quarterback this year, Darian Mensah, entered the transfer portal earlier this week. And I know some people thought that when he entered the transfer portal, that meant his head coach John Sumrall was leaving to take a bigger job. But that does not look like it's the case, and he'll be back, and I think that's good for this conference. When you have good big-time coaches in a conference that made 6 in-season coaching changes, it's good to be able to keep coaches that are talented like John Sumrall. I think this will, if things go well, and I think they probably will for him, this will probably be his last year, and I think he'll go and get a big-time head coaching job. But
this conference needs improving.
It needs improving, and I think bringing him back is good for this conference.
What I learned never before, more than ever, has the College Football Playoff Committee, they need someone with a Vegas handicapping background. They know more about these teams than any AD. Like I said earlier, for instance, Hunter Yurchek. He saw three playoff teams.
Mm-hmm.
We saw 2 playoff teams in person and 1 on the periphery. All the games were in Fayetteville. When's he going to travel and watch other games? He can't. You can't expect him to.
No.
I mean, he's not on those 2 open dates going to do that. So how does he know who the best teams out there are?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, AD jobs are hard enough, and then you want to task them with selecting the 12 teams. I mean, it's a no-win. What I could have done without Brett, it's right back to where we started the show, and it's the Tigers' loss yesterday to Arkansas State. With all of the momentum and everything that's happened to start the season, that was a loss that I think hurts a little bit. But like we both said to start the show, I'm not freaking out. I'm not overly worried about that loss yesterday because I do think Arkansas State is a good team. I think they are a well-coached team by Brian Hodgson. We talked about it earlier. If they were in the American right now, at least Ken Palm would have them as, I believe, the 5th-rated team in that conference. No, that was no fluke. A really good coach. The Tigers need to bounce back now from this loss. They have good opportunities against good teams coming up. Clemson, Virginia right after that, and then the 2 games back-to-back against Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Got to clean up some of those things we saw defensively yesterday, the kind of attacking, when guys are attacking to the rim, everybody collapsing,
and effort.
That screen, what they were doing on screens, effort, those things need to be improved. But with this team, I feel like I trust them to bounce back more than I did last year's team.
I do too, because it's such a guard-oriented sport, and I still think the Tigers have a great backcourt. I could have done without the tenure as College Football Playoff Committee Chair Ward Manuel. Ooh, it was bad.
Yeah.
He couldn't really explain himself. The goalpost moved from Tuesday night to Saturday to the next week, all over the place. And why would anybody want to be it?
Now that's the $1,000,000 question. I don't know why anybody would want to take that job.
To be sent out there on those Tuesday nights as the national pinata.
Yeah, and that pinata is a good kind of analogy, because it's never going to be, hey, great job in there on the committee. We love what this bracket looks like. It's always going to be trying to dissect and question it.
Think how little you see the basketball tournament chair.
Yeah.
Really just on Selection Sunday,
just about to say.
And maybe some cutaways during the tournament, maybe.
There's no weekly show the month leading up to the bracket selection for the NCAA tournament where they have their spokesperson.
Did you hear the palpable sadness in the TV voices yesterday in the bracket reveal?
Yeah.
Could you tell it?
Mm-hmm.
It was easy. I mean, they couldn't believe only 3 from the SEC. That's all it was deserving.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me to Monday Night Football, Cincinnati at Dallas. There's not a lot out there in American sport tonight. So let's stay with Monday Night Football. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on the TV. Dallas leads 10-4 all-time over Cincinnati. First meeting, 1973, 38-10 Cowboys at Texas Stadium. Ken Anderson versus Roger Staubach, those names. And the coaches, Paul Brown against Tom Landry. But one of the great names ever in football. Running back for Cincinnati that night.
Icky.
From
Was it Icky?
Bethune-Cookman. No, better than Icky.
No, Icky.
Booby Clark.
I love it. I love it. That's an all-time Hall of Fame name right there. Not a lot tonight in
One
the sports
NBA
world.
game.
Yeah, it's a very.
It's not even in the
light
United
night.
States.
Is it not?
It's in Toronto, isn't it?
Oh,
Knicks
yeah,
at Toronto.
yeah, that's right. It's the Raptors. But no, not a lot. So being me to Monday Night Football, and hopefully tomorrow we'll be talking
Big Ten hoops.
Yeah,
Minnesota
Big Ten,
at IU tonight.
Game going on right now, and I think a tied game right now. So the games that are happening are good games in college basketball, just not a lot. But that's all the time we have. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.